ikoranabuhanga rifite ibyabyo mu gihe bakirwana no kubishyira ku murongo kugira ngo amajwi tuyumve neza.
They're still working on it so that we can hear the voices of the sound.
Reka dusabe umutangabuhamya wacu wa Gatumba
Let me ask the survivor of Gatumba
atambuke hano imbere
to come forward.
kugira ngo namara kubitubwira n'ubundi dukurikizeho n'iriya filime documentaire.
So after the testimony we can go on with the documentary.
Mu gihe abari ku buhanga bw'ibyuma nabo baba bashaka uburyo tuza kubyumva neza twese tubikurikiye.
As they are still working on it.
Reka dusabe umutangabuhamya wacu atambuke.
Let's ask our survivor.
Hanyuma ku matara mwongere mutuzamurire.
We can switch on the lights back.
Murakoze cyane. Judith ni karibu.
Murambese mbere yuko mvuga nimba hari umuntu w'umuresikape w'umugatumba uri hano yatambuka ese tugahagararana
Gatumba survivors to come up here if there's any here.
hari umuntu wari uri hariya ririya joro cyangwa hari uwabuzanye
Anybody was there that night?
ndabona pasiteri wacu yaza tukabana n'iwacu
And our pastor as well.
murakoze ku batanze amazina nitwa Ngena Judith.
Thank you for those who do not know me. My name is Judith.
ndi umumama w'abana batanu.
I am a mother to 5 children.
mu Gatumba nari mfite imyaka 16.
In Gatumba I was 16 years old.
ashobora kuvanga indimi zombi mu gihanganire.
Please bear with me.
kuba mpagaze hano ari ejo hawutanga ubuhamya ntabwo byabaye kuri
While standing here to give my testimony did not happen to just me,
ariko byabaye ku bwoko bwose.
but it happened to the entire nation.
nanatanga mpore ku uwo munyamurenge wese.
And I offer my comfort to all Banyamulenge.
twese ngira uko imyaka igenda wenda umuntu azaba abyakira amenye.
After we had a good time, we'll get used to it.
ariko ibintu umuntu yabonye hariya amahano
But the things that we experienced and saw there,
Gatumba njye nabwiye papa
I lost my father in Gatumba.
yitwaga Rukanirwahoze Mahinga.
Over his name.
mama yitwa Marisiyani Nyarintu nawe yaraharangirije.
And my mother's name was Nyaritu. She also graduated.
ahurira musaza wanjye witwaga Bisetsa Mahinga.
My brother, whose name was Visita Mahinga.
ahurira mukuru wanjye witwaga Munezero Mahinga.
And my older sister, whose name was Munezero Mahinga.
ahurira murumuna wanjye witwaga Nyabyinshi Mahinga.
And my little sister, whose name was Nyabyinshi Mahinga.
umwana mukuru wanjye umukobwa w'imyaka 4 witwaga Fiya Izuru.
And my 4-year-old niece, whose name was Gafia Zuru.
n'undi w'umubebe w'umwaka witwaga Felix Izuru.
And a 1-year-old whose name was Felix.
ahurira amabukwe mama w'umugabo wanjye Zura,
I was born in Zura,
ahantu hitwa Gasanga.
a place called Kasanga.
Amateka ya Zura menshi sinibuka.
I don't really remember the history of Zura.
Nakuriye Uvira ni nkaho namenyeye ubwenge.
I grew up in Uvira, that's where I came from.
Aduka ahantu hitwa ngo ni Kambuye.
And we lived in Commemoration.
Muri 2002
In 2002 was the first time we fled.
tuja mu Gatumba.
And we went to Gatumba.
Twagiye na mama n'abandi bose papa we yakakunda.
I went with my mother and my siblings, and my father didn't come with us.
Twabaye iminsi mikeya dusubirayo.
After a few days, we went back to Uvira.
Hano bibaye muri 2004
And in 2004,
nigaga kuri radiyo Uvira.
I used to go to school in Uvira.
Turi mu ma examen ya nyuma kubera ko twari kudufunga amashuri.
When we were doing our last examinations,
Umwana wari inyuma yanjye antera ibuye.
a child that was sitting behind me threw a stone at me.
Ndamubwira nti se niki kibazo cyabaye.
And I said, "What's the problem?"
Arambwira ngo bimwe Banyarwanda bote bagenda kwabo.
And they said that all the other Rwandese children went to their home.
None se mwebwe ko muragira gute hano?
So what are you doing here?
Noneho turungurutse hanze tubona abantu ko bariruka.
And when we looked outside, we saw people running.
Ubwo umwarimu arambwira ngo papa ahagaze hanze kuko aravuga ngo dusohoke tugende.
And the teacher told me that my dad was outside calling us to go.
Imodoka yari yamuzanye ni iya papa Ruhosha, papa w'abasinzira nawe wari chef de cité ya Uvira.
The car that had brought him belonged to a different man.
Ntitwasubiye mu rugo.
And we didn't go back home.
Nahise nguma muri iyo modoka turagenda tujya gutora abandi nyine.
I stayed in that car and we picked up everybody else.
Ariko papa arambwira ngo ntabwo ashaka guhunga.
But my father told me that he did not want to flee.
Amubwira buri gihe twarahungaga wowe ukanga guhunga ariko ibi ngibi noneho biteye ubwoba cyane.
And I told him, every time we flee, you don't come with us, but this one's scary.
Aratubwira ati ntabwo ngenda.
And he said, "I will not go."
Ati nahunze mva muri Zuri intambara zaza ziba ngenzaza ngo umwana Uvira mwe musa mugenda musaza musaga.
And he said, "As wars come, I will stay in Uvira. You guys go and you'll come back to me."
Papa yari inshuti yanjye.
Yeah, my father was my friend.
Ndamubwira nti niba utagiye turu nanjye ntawe uje.
And I told him, "If you don't go, then I won't go either."
Aremera turajana ariko ambwira ijambo n'ubusa yanze kumvamo.
And he accepted and came with me and told me a word that has stayed with me.
Arambwira ati ngiye ko ndabona ningenda sinzi ko nzagaruka.
And he said that he feels like if he went there, he wouldn't come back.
Somehow I was happy because I thought we were going to stay there.
And biranshimisha kubera ko natekerezaga ko tuzagumayo.
Ntabwo natekerezaga ko avuga ko atazagaruka ubuzima bwe buzaba burangiye.
I didn't think that he meant that his life would be coming to an end.
Ndihuta tuhagera mu kwa gatandatu.
And we got there in June.
Ni ukuri twari mu buzima nyine bw'ikamba abantu babaye mu nkambi murabizi.
And we were living the life of camps, and anybody who lived there knows how it is.
Hari inkambi bashizemo Banyamulenge.
There was a camp that they put the Banyamulenge.
Hakaba inkambi bashizemo Ababembe twahunganye.
And a camp that they put the Wabembe that fled with us.
Hakaba akandi ga section gato y'abashizemo Abarundi bariko bahunguruka sinzi iyo bariko bava.
And they also put a section for the Burundians. And I don't know what they were
Abarundi b'Abahutu.
but the Hutu Burundians.
Ntabwo mvuga ibi bintu kugira ngo ngire discrimination.
I'm not saying this to cause discrimination.
Ariko ndababwira ukuntu bino bintu byari bipanze.
But I'm telling you how it was planned.
Noneho bakagusha bakadushyira mu gihuru kinini gishitingi.
And they would put us in a tent, a big tent.
Tuhaba ukwezi kwa gatandatu.
And we lived there in June,
kwa karindwi,
July,
mu kwa munani turaterwa.
and in August we were attacked.
Mu kwa munani ku minsi 13 niyo mpamvu uyu munsi wandemereye twebwe iwacu tuza tubikora mu ma weekend umuntu agasa n'usimbuka uyu munsi.
And on August 13th is when it happened, and that's why today is so heavy for me, because usually we commemorate the day on the weekend and we skip this day.
Twarabyutse twagiraga amasengesho ya burakeye.
We woke up, we had our early morning prayers,
turasenga,
and we prayed.
Tugiye kurangiza pasiteri Rutekereza Badinzi niwe wari uyayoboye.
And as we were finishing, Pastor Rutekereza, the one who was leading the prayers,
Mama Noela, umumama witwaga Perusi,
and a woman who was named Perusi,
aravuga ngo ntabwo turarangiza ngo akeneye ko ngo abantu bakuru bazunguruka inkambi yacu y'Abanyamulenge
And she said that we're not done. She wanted the older people to go around the campsite.
ngo kandi bayizunguruke ngo bari kuririmba ngo ninde wakwitanga umugambi w'Imana.
And she wanted them to go around it singing who would stop the plans of God.
ngo Farawo yarananiwe n'inyanja yarananiwe.
That Pharaoh was not able to, and neither was the ocean.
kubera ko yari umumama ukunda ibitaramo cyane tubifata ko bisanzwe.
Because she was a prayerful woman, we took it as if it was something normal.
noneho turagenda barabikoze mu masaha yine twari turangije ubuzima burakomeza.
And they did it and life moved on.
bigeze saa 3 z'ijoro
And when it was 9 p.m.,
twari twarangije gufungura
we had already eaten.
twari twicaye ku muryango w'ikambi n'abandi bana bamukesha umukobwa pasiteri kinyamahanga.
We were sitting at the doors with other children.
noneho abateenager mama araza arambwira ati nimwinjire mu nzu.
And then as we were teenagers, my mom called us to go inside.
namubwira nako se waturitse tugatarama.
And I said, why don't you let us hang out?
aratubwira ati ko numva umutima wanjye ati mu nda hari amazi kandi umutima wanjye nta mahoro mfite.
And she said that she felt uneasy and she had no peace.
noneho nabwira nti naduhe nk'iminota 10 hanyuma turaza.
And I said, give us about 10 minutes and we'll come in.
ishitingi yacu twabanagamo na pasiteri kinyamahanga nk'uko nabivuze.
And in our tents, we lived with Pastor Kinyamahanga, as I said,
na famiye ya mukuru wanjye
and my older sister's family.
ngabo yari umusirikare yari muri Congo
Her husband was in the army and he was in Congo,
n'abandi benshi.
and many more.
noneho ngo arangiza arasubira aragaruka
And after that, she came back.
ariko ya minota 10 itarashira
But those 10 minutes had not ended.
aratubwira ati nta masasu mwumvise.
And she said, have you not heard bullets?
turamubwira ntitwayumvise.
And we said, we heard them.
ariko ku bantu babaye i Burundi amasasu ntabwo akanga abantu.
But for those who lived in Burundi, bullets were not a scary thing.
noneho mama kubera kugira ubwoba abasirikare b'abarundi bari ahantu nyine twarababonaga baducunze.
And I said, Mother, why do you have fear? We could see where the army was, the Burundian army.
aratubwira ati ntabwo mbasiga noneho ati muze twinjire.
And she said, I won't leave you this time. Come inside.
twarinjiye iminota 10 itaragera.
We went in, and within 10 minutes,
iwe yikije umutwe hasi nje nari nicyicaye.
she laid down, but I was still sitting down.
arambwira ngo bamurashe.
And she said she had been shot.
ndamubwira ntoya ndi ntabwo bakurashe.
And I said, no, you have not been shot,
kubera ko niyo bagitangira.
because they just started.
arambwira ntibandashe.
She said, I've been shot.
tireba mu mutwe wanjye.
She said, look at my head.
noneho arambwira yari afite umwana wa musaza wanjye iyo bakazana babyaye ukazana umwana kumushutsa.
And she had one of my brother's children.
arambwira ngo ikiba cyose wahurira hose nushaka upfire hanze y'inkambi ngo ntusige gloire.
And she said, whatever you do, even if you die outside the campsite, do not leave glory behind.
arambwira nti mama wowe uramuhungana ndi umwana ntabwo nahunga n'undi mwana.
And I said, Mother, you have to flee with him. I'm just a child. I can't flee with another child.
subiye kumuhamagara ntabwo yanyitabye.
And when I called her again, she didn't answer.
ndaborose mvugije induru.
And I screamed.
noneho numva musaza wanjye kubera nguko nababwiye nta privacy yari ihaba.
And as I've told you, there was no privacy in the tent, so I heard my brother.
abamama twara n'abakobwa twararagura uruhande.
The women slept on one side,
abapapa nabo bakajana n'uruhande.
and the men on the other side.
noneho numva bisetsa araboroza burugaki yavugije induru imwe gusa.
So I heard Visita scream.
papa arahaguruka ariko nawe arambwira ati nanjye bandashe ukuguru ati ariko ndaje ngusanga aho uri.
And my father stood up and he said, I've also been shot in the leg, but I'm coming toward you.
ukuntu bari kubarasa barangiza bagatera gazeline. noneho ntiryari ijoro habaye umuco.
The way that they would shoot is they would shoot and then they would throw gas on it, so then it didn't look like night. There was a lot of light.
ibyo nta naho bari kwihisha.
So there was nowhere to hide.
tekereza urusasu n'ishitingi.
Think about a bullet going through a tent,
no bamenyeho gaze n'umuriro.
and they poured gas and lit it on fire.
papa aragenda asanga bisetsa ahari.
And my father went toward Visita,
njye nagumye aho mama yari ari kubera ko nako nanga kumusiga.
and I stayed where my mother was because I didn't want to leave her.
abandi bakaboroga none ukamenya bamwe amajwi abandi ntuyamenye.
And other people were screaming and you would recognize some voices but not others.
ariko mbwira papa numva abantu ko bararirimba hanze buriya nabaje kudutabara.
And I told my father, I hear people singing outside, maybe they're here to save us.
Nibwo bwa mbere nabonye abantu bica bakoresheje izina ry'Imana.
It was the first time I saw people killing while using the name of God.
Indirimbo sinayibuka neza ariko bakavuga ngo Imana ngo yabatugabiye.
And they were singing a song saying that God had handed us to them.
Ubwenge bw'umwana nari mfite njye nibwira ko ari abantu baje kudutabara.
And in my young mind, I thought that they had come to save us.
Papa arambwira ati banzurire ati nibatwika kino gice kindi turasohoka.
And my dad said, wait, if they burn the other side, then we will get out.
Byatwaye n'amasegonda nshaka igice kindi gitangira gusha.
And it didn't even take seconds, the other side started to burn.
Akwega musaza wanjye kubera ko bari bamuteye grenade mu ijosi.
And he pulled my brother because they had thrown a grenade at his neck.
Mu by'ukuri nta muntu wari ubwihari.
And he was not really alive.
Ariko ntabwo wasiga umuntu wawe uri kubona umuriro.
But you can't leave your person when you see that the tent has been set on fire.
Amukwegera hanze.
So he pulled him outside.
Asubira yazana mukuru wanjye nyina w'abo bana nawe yararashwe n'ikibuga.
And he went to get my older sister who was also shot.
Yari yaje gusiga abana be.
He didn't want to leave his children,
Ariko bari barangije.
but they had died.
None atera undi mwana we wari warashwe twese agenda dusura.
And so he took us all outside.
Nanjye sohokana wa mwana wa musaza wanjye twicara imbere y'inkambi.
And I left with my brother's child and we sat outside the camp.
Papa asubiyeyo agiye arambwira ati reka nje kureba ko mama wanyine byarangiye umuriro uri kwaka.
And my father said, I'm going to check on your mother, and he went back while the tent was on fire.
Noneho bahita bamubwira ngo garuka mbona abantu baraduhamagara ngo nimuze hano ngo nimuze.
And I saw people calling us.
Nirutse mbasanga mfite umunezero njyewe.
And I ran towards them with joy personally.
Ntabwo nari nzi ko bari abanzi.
But I didn't know that they were the enemy.
Baratwicarije aho.
And they made us sit there.
Kubera ko papa yari yarashwe mu kuguru ariko akihagenda.
Because my father had been shot in the leg, but he was still able to walk.
Bamumena no gasoline.
They poured gasoline on him
Ari muzima.
while he was alive.
Ibyakurikiye namwe murabyumva.
And you understand what happened after that.
Twihanganire. Nangize ngire ngende. Ngize ngo mpunge.
When I wanted to flee,
Mwarambwira turicara hano atumureba sharangije.
one told me, you're going to sit here and you're going to watch him burn.
Warangize mugenzi we aramubwira ati ariko se ubundi abangaba ko turabasigire iki?
And his friend told him, why are we leaving the rest of them?
Mugenzi we aramubwira ati abangaba ntibazabaho.
And he said, these ones will not live.
Niba twarangije imiryango yabo.
He said, we finished their families.
Dusigara twicaye aho.
And we stayed sitting there.
Mukuru wanjye arambwira uwo w'imfura ati haguruka wewe ugende ushake iyo uje ati nje ndagumana na bisetsi ujye musaza wanjye nababwiye.
And my oldest sister told me to run away and find somewhere to be, and that she would stay with our other brother.
Twagiye mu bibira ariko bumwe tukaza dusa n'ababakurikira kubera ko nabo niyo bari kubasubira.
And we went, but it seemed as if we were following them because that's where they were going as well.
Barimo abamama,
And there was women,
barimo abapapa,
there was men,
bakazana n'abana babo.
and they came with their children.
Turagenda dushika ahantu mu gasantere nje kwa Bamdogo Gatabazi aho yari atuye.
And we got to the center, and I went to my uncle Gatabazi's home.
Yarambwiye ngo se ngo abandi bari hehe?
And he asked me where everybody else was.
Aza binyibutsa ngo naramubwiye ngo bari hano inyuma kubera ko mu by'ukuri mu bwenge ntabwo nari mfite.
He reminds me that I told him that they were behind me because I didn't register it in my mind.
Tuhageze baradufata batujana kwa muganga.
And after we got there, they took us to the hospital.
Nari ngifite umwana wa musaza wanjye w'umubiri.
I still had my brother's son.
Ariko nkumva ukuboko kwanjye kwabaye ikinya.
But I felt as though my hand was numb.
Naje kumenya ko nanjye narashwe narimo ngira n'amaraso ya mama cyangwa y'uwo mbebe nari mfite.
I thought that it was my mother's blood or the baby's blood, but I came to find out I had been shot.
Naje kumenya ko narashwe ariko umuganga w'Uburundi ambwiye ati ngwino mpoza aho hantu wazaje kugira ikibazo.
I found out that I had been shot when the doctor told me that he needed to wash my wound so that I wouldn't get infected.
Ntabwo narashwe.
And I told him I was not shot.
Arambwira ati warashwe.
And he said, you've been shot.
Nuko mbese ni mu ncamake niyo mateka yanjye.
So in short, that is my history.
Ariko nshaka kubabwira ngo
But I want to tell you,
sinzi ijambo iwacu bazavuga ngo nubwo igiti cyatemwa cyose
they say that even if a tree is cut to be cut down,
kirongera muri Bibiliya ngo kirongera kigashibuka.
that it still grows again.
Sinari nzi ko no mu mama gakikira.
I did not know that I would be a mother and
Ino
care my
mateka
children.
naciyemo. Ubu nyine mfite abana batanu,
I have 5 children now,
abahungu 3 n'abakobwa 2.
3 boys and 2 girls.
Basaza banjye basigaye barashatse nabo bafite abana.
My brothers who are alive also are married with children.
Baramu banjye iyo ngiye mparura abuzukuru y'ababyeyi bacu baje guhaba ndenza abana nkaho nshatswe ndenza abana 30 na.
When I count the grandchildren of if our parents were still there, there's more than 30 grandchildren
Nasubira
now.
iwacu naho hariho benshi.
And when I go back to my home as well, there's many.
Impamvu bino bintu bikiba bikomeza kuba bikiba iwacu
The reason that this is still happening to our home
ni ukubera ko wumvise nkuriya mama w'ikaremi uyu nguyu wavuye Kasai,
we heard that the woman who came from Kasai,
arabavuye Bibogobogo.
there's those who came from Bibogobogo.
Nta muntu n'umwe sinzi wenda abandi barabonye ariko nta muntu ndabona wafunzwe ngo yishe umunyamurenge cyangwa se yakoze genocide.
I personally have never seen anybody be arrested for killing a Banyamulenge or for committing the crime of genocide.
Aha duhagaze buri muntu wese naho wicaye ufite ijwi.
As we're standing here and where you're sitting, you have a voice.
Koresha ijwi ryawe.
Use your voice.
Nkora mu bitaro kandi ntibyemera ariko abarwayi banje iyo baje mbabwira amateka yanjye.
I work in the hospital and it's not allowed, but when the patients come, I tell them my history.
Ababwira niba ndafite umuntu w'umuloya muri famiye.
I tell them if anybody has a lawyer in their family,
Babwire ko abanyamurenge bari kurengana.
tell them that the Banyamulenge people are continuing to face injustice.
Iyo bije kuba byararangiriye mu Gatumba
If it had ended in Gatumba,
tuba twaramenyereye.
we would have gotten used to it.
Kuri u Rwanda rwubatswe ubu nyine rukaba rumeze neza.
The same way Rwanda has been rebuilt and is good now.
Ariko ndibuka nkareba njyewe imyaka 16 nari mfite kiriya gihe.
But when I look at that time when I was 16 years old,
ndababara ariko singibabara cyane kubera ko nyine hari abapfakazi b'imyaka 16.
I'm hurt, but I'm not as hurt as I was before because now there's widows who are 16 years old.
Kuvuga umupfaka ufite imyaka 17 noneho ube responsible yo kurera abana.
To become a widow at 17 years old and be responsible of raising children.
Turasaba ubutabera.
We ask for justice.
Ntabwo tuzoceceka.
And we won't be quiet.
Ngenda mbibwira n'abana banjye narababwiye ngo n'ejo mfuye muzakomeze aho nzasiga.
I also tell my children that if I was to die tomorrow, that they should continue from
Wenda
where I
ntimuzi
stopped.
amateka cyane ariko nzanyababwira.
That they might not know the history, but I tell it to
Babwira
them.
ngo muri abakongomani b'abanyamurenge.
I tell them you're Congolese Banyamulenge,
Kandi ntukigere utinya no kubivuga ahantu hose uzaje.
and do not be afraid to say it anywhere you go.
Turabashimiye cyane
We thank you
kuba mwaradutumiye
for inviting us
no kuorganiza ino event.
and for organizing this event.
Kandi nkomeza abantu bose
And as I continue to comfort everybody,
twese dukomere
that we all are strengthened.
dufite Imana.
We have God.
Murakoze.
Thank you.
Harakoze cyane mushiki wacu, reka tubasabe bicare.
Thank you, our sister. We'll ask you to sit.
Asoreje ku magambo meza
She has finished on good words,
kandi koko abakomeza
and she needs to comfort each other.
ubuzima bwacu bw'abanyamurenge bugira umwihariko.
Our lives of Banyamulenge are special.
twe abantu tugira abantu bacitse ku icumu inshuro zirenze zingahe ahantu hatandukanye.
We have people who have survived many events at different times.
Ibindi byarazaga bigashira ugacikira ku icumu ahantu runaka ukabura arokotse,
Other things would come and they would end and you would survive.
ariko twe dufite abarokotse muri Zura bapfira mu Gatumba,
But we have people who survived in Zura and died in Gatumba.
dufite abarokotse Inganji no muri n'ahandi ku Ndondo bagapfira mu Gatumba,
We have people who survived Kundondo and died in Gatumba.
dufite abarokotse aho hose bagapfira i Bukavu
We have people who survived all those places and died in Bukavu.
bakicirwa.
And that's where they were killed.
Avuga gupfa ngo abantu batekereze ko ari urupfu rw'ikirago,
And we're not talking about death, a regular death.
ayo ni amateka yacu ashaririye,
That is our sad history.
ariko kandi tugomba guhaguruka guhangana nayo.
It is something that we need to stand and fight for.
Tuzibuke noneho tutari kurira abandi bapfuye.
But we need to remember without crying for those who have died.
Ku buhanga bw'ibyuma bambwiye ko zatunganye,
They have
night the world must remember. There are places in the world that look ordinary from the outside. Small, quiet, unremarkable. Gatumba was one of those places. A transit camp on the western edge of Burundi, a few kilometers from the border of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Cooking fires in the morning, children playing in the dust between the tents, families who had already survived so much, who had walked away from war, from burning villages, from everything they had ever owned, and who had arrived here, registered their names, and told themselves, the worst is over. We are safe now. They were not safe. On the night of August 13th, 2004, armed men entered Gatumba refugee camp and did not stop until 166 people were dead. Another 106 were wounded, many of them for the rest of their lives. Most of the dead were women and children, people who had been asleep, people who never saw it coming. The attack lasted less than 1 hour. 20 years later, not one person has been convicted.
Nari inyuma y'inkambi mu nzu zari zihari ariko mu buryo n'amasasu yari atwikujana muri uwo mwanya sinamenya uko nabyita cyane abantu bararaswa abantu barishwa kugeza igihe abantu bamwe bari bafite ibipurizo abantu benshi barabizi kuko mu gihe igipurizo twari tukizi kwari ugupuriza inka nicyo cyari kirimo esanse bagenda bashahira inkambi nuko gushahira za nkambi noneho bakakirizaho umwambi.
Inkambi yaratutse. There was a smoke, a fire that you could just see light up the sky, and then into Yabat. So you could just hear people screaming, and you could just see it up in the air. That's one sound that only 1 year old. From 1 year later, that sound kept ringing in my ear. You take it when there's a fire, like a July 4th, that always remind me of that day.
Rero nanjye tavutse ngagomba ndasemeza ko umwana wanjye w'ibino n'amabandi nabumvikana ntabwo kagira abamishe ahubwo n'abantu kuba ndagerageza ndavuga ngo ndamubanda sintanze nuko butangira n'abandi ubwo naciye ubushi ndagenda shira ihema nasohoka ndagenda maze gushika kariya ndavuga ndahemutse ndasobanurira size abana mu mugore ndagenda ndabavuga ndi muze tugende naciye ihema n'ukugira
The night of August 13th, 2004 began like every other night. Fires burned down to embers. The camp grew quiet. Families went to sleep. Then the silence broke.
That night, it was a kind of a strange night. I remember that I wasn't full sleeping yet. I was still awake. And then we started hearing the gunshots. When we heard the gunshot, what happened in Burundi, there's this thing that there's thieves that come to steal cows. So every time you hear a gunshot, don't freak out. That was the concept. Don't freak out. Don't do anything crazy. It's just thieves who are here to steal people's cow and then they'll leave. So that's the mindset people had. So, but as the gunshots they kept shooting, it started to be something unusual. It was like a rain of gunshots. People were screaming. You were calling God to find a survival. So what I remember, I woke up, got up from the mattress where I was, get on my clothes. Some people, they slept without clothes back home. So I put myself clothes and then I told my other roommates, hey guys, let's dress up. We are under attack. But at that time, the adults already knew that the camp was attacked. So the gunshots went crazy around, I would say 40 minutes or 45. and then it stopped. There was a silence of gunshot. From that time to the moment you realize that you were being attacked on your own tent, the only sign to know was people screaming, "Oh, I'm dying! Oh, God help me! Oh, my dad help me! I'm being shot! Or I just being shot! Right now, I've been shot on my neck, my arm." And plus that, I was not sleeping on the same tent with my family. So the only survival place we had was to cut the tent, not from the main door of the tent, back door of the tent, or the end of the tent. So I don't know who find the tools or knife or whatever they found. They cut the tent, and then the parents who were there, he told us, "Guys, do whatever it takes. Get out the tent. The camp has been attacked, and some of the tents are being burned." So all three of us, the guy who was sitting next to us, sleeping next to us at the moment, he told us that he has been shot, and then other people in the same tent, they were being shot as well. You can hear people screaming, "Oh, I'm being shot! This place, this place." It was crazy situation. So after that, we got up. The only hope I had at that moment, or the prayer that I had at that moment, was, "God help me to get out of this situation."
Gatumba nahuriye papa, nkahurira mama. Papa yitwaga Rukanyumva hose Amahinga. Mama yitwaga Marisiyana Nyabintu. Bahurira musaza wanje witwaga Bisizi Amahinga. Bahurira mukuru wanje witwaga Munezero Muhire. Bahurira uwo twanganaga Nyabyinshi Muhire. Bahurira abana mukuru wanje babiri, Felix na Fili. Ariko maze kubakana n'umutware wanje nawe yahahuriye mama wiwe na mukuru wiwe witwaga Muhorana. Urumva nabuze hapfa abandi 9 cyangwa barenga.
Ikintu kwibagirwa ni hejuru ukamenya umugore we. Twari bari imbere y'abatangirira ku muryango w'ababuke yacu n'uje kabumwe. Ariko n'uremo sinamuzi baravuye muri rusubira natwe tutubura ko n'amaraho yavuga kuri bamubara mwinshi aho batuganira useka mu magambo yiwe abantu b'ico mwinshi n'icyo mwiza. Ibyo bintu sinzazi barimo zamuka bamaze ko niwe batangiriweho uko umwana avuga niwe batangiriweho ntabwo twaba tuzumva twatabarukuru ariko ariko tuzumva bihariho nk'umugabo yari gusigira ngo mu Rwanda hasohoka ariko kuko niwe batangiriweho.
Twakoresheje abantu 3 aho baciye wangu na papa imaje tutazibagirwa famili ingo papa yapfuye kuko niwe batujyana nyine hasi. They shot him ruhande
baramurashe ku
ruhande ndetse bamutera grenade mu mutwe. That's how yapfuye.
3 days after the attack, the community buried its dead. 166 people. Behind every number was a name. Behind every name was a life that will not come back.
Ishano nuko abantu bicwa batazize amakosa yabo ariko bazize icyubahiro cy'uburundi bavuga cyangwa isura yabo. Ishano kandi nuko abantu bicwe n'abantu bavuye muri Congo. Genocide yabereye mu Burundi, abicwa n'abakongomani. Rero umuntu akaba yibaza niba hari amoko amwe agomba kuba anatagomba.
Every year, on the 13th of August, those who survived return. They stand in the place where it happened. They light candles. They read the names, all 166 of them, one by one. Because reading the names is a way of saying, you existed, you mattered, you are not forgotten. They bring their children who were not yet born when it happened, who stand in this place and learn what their family carries, so that the memory does not die with the generation that lived it.
Bamwe serugarukira Antoine Nabitanga serugarukira Nyantebuka serugarukira hanyuma hariho abandi bantu babiri batabashe kumenyekana kubera ko bari bahiye birenze uko bashobora kubamenya.
Iyo turira nuko imitima imeremere kandi twabuze abantu bacu tubireba n'amaso kandi bagenda bihuse cyane mu buryo bwatunguwe.
Niko ibintu byari byarateguwe, hari amakambi yari atuwemo n'abanyamulenge, abandi nabo b'abakongomani n'abarundi bari mu makambi yabo asukwa. Aho narindi nabonye abantu bapfa, jewe uvuga mushiki wanje Burikira uwo munsi yaguye aho, twarasohotse dusohoka tuba muri iryo hema, we baramurasa urusasu rwo mu mutwe, hanyuma baza kumutwika ariko ntiyahiye wese, yahiye kuguru mashitinga mugwaho.
Hari ibyagerageje gukorwa mu ruhande rwacu mu nyandiko no mu nkiko no gutanga ibirego, ibyo byarakozwe. Twabitanze mu gihugu cyabereyemo ayo marorerwa aricyo cy'u Burundi kugira ngo kibashe gukurikirana n'abemeye ko ari bo bishe abo bantu barimo Agatorwasa na Pasiteri Habimana kandi mu gihugu cy'u Burundi kidegeje. Abo niho hambere twasabye. Aha kabiri ni igihugu cya Kongo aricyo komokamo cy'abanyamulenge bakomokamo, basanga ati namwe muturenganure aka karengane twakorewe kuko harimo uruhare rw'abantu bazanye igitero kibana muri Kongo.
Every year we have a memorial in August to honor them, to speak on their behalf, and the people even currently who are not in their home, they're still being chased away, being killed. So all these situations, the same thing that the tragedy that took place in Gatumba is still happening. So the memory we have for them is to say no to these such things.
Cyane rero umutima wanje nuko abasigaye babayeho, abari bahiye bari barashwe mu mitwe babaho, kandi nyuma yabo ngira abandi benshi ndunguka ubw'Imana.
We do this every year so we can raise awareness and seek justice, because what happened in 2004 is still happening up to today.
Remember Gatumba, not as a tragedy of the past, as an obligation of the present.
Watu ambao tunawafahamu washughulikiwe kwa minajili ya sheria, wasakwe kama wako Kongo, wasakwe kama wako Ulaya, wasakwe ili iwe funzo kwa wengine ya kwamba huwezi kuua bila kuwajibika. Kwa waliofariki, jukumu letu ni kuwakumbuka na kuwaenzi jinsi tunavyowakumbuka na kuwaenzi. Na mambo kama haya yanastahili kufundishwa katika kila shule, iwe katika mitaala, ili vizazi vya sasa, vizazi vya kesho vikumbushwe ya kwamba kulikuwa na mauaji kama haya.
Dusabe batugarurireho amatara, hanyuma dusabe abafite urutonde rw'amazina y'abiciwe mu Gatumba ko kimwe mu muhango dukora kugira ngo tubasubize ako gaciro ni ukuvuga amazina yabo, twebwe ababo babahagarariye kuri uyu munsi. Reka dusabe abasoma amazina y'abiciwe mu Gatumba batambuke hano.
turibuka famiye Minyati, Faustin Minyati, Kadafi Minyati, Neza Minyati, Nyari Minyati. Turibuka famiye Rutekereza, Jacques Rutekereza, Mushakambo Rutekereza, Gihaneza Rutekereza, Nyamasoso Rutekereza, Ndatabaye Rutekereza, Nyazahabu Rutekereza na Nyamuryango Rutekereza. Turibuka famiye Gasosi, Gasosi Eraste Jambo, Perusi Gasosi, Nyahumure Gasosi, Bahoza Gasosi na Debora Gasosi. Turibuka famiye Nyamusore, Nyamusore Karaha, Debora Nyamusore, Ntabitwa Nyamusore, Kayonga Nyamusore, Ngezayo Nyamusore na Bebe Nyamusore. Turibuka famiye Rukamirwa, Oze Rukamirwa, Marisiana Rukamirwa na Bisetsa Rukamirwa. Turibuka famiye Haizuru, Fie Haizuru na Felix Haizuru. Turibuka famiye Gatoni, Mugotwa Gatoni, Nyabyiza Gatoni, Debora Gatoni na Eme Gatoni. Turibuka famiye Muhimuzi, Elias Muhimuzi, Munoni Muhimuzi na Merewe Neza Muhimuzi. Turibuka famiye Shemu, Marisiana Shemu, Esperance Shemu na Jeremy Shemu. Turibuka famiye Shoni, Masigabona Shoni, Nyakiza Shoni, Musa Shoni na Amani Shoni. Turibuka famiye Kasa, Nyahoza Kasa, Ziraje Kasa, Jeannette Kasa na Yvonne Kasa. Turibuka famiye Bitati, Tomasi Bitati, Eric Bitati na Dudu Bitati. Turibuka famiye Zaroti, Nyahoza Zaroti na Bebe Zaroti. Turibuka famiye Kanyabitabo, Odia Kanyabitabo na Neza Kanyabitabo. Turibuka famiye Musafiri Hoga, Chantal Musafiri Hoga, Nyamugisha Hoga na Patience Musafiri.
Turibuka famiye Gapingi, Nyabihogo Gapingi, Claude Gapingi, Izere Gapingi. Turibuka famiye Musafiri, Lydia Musafiri, Samuel Musafiri. Turibuka famiye Mandevu, Lea Mandevu, Muhorana Mandevu. Turibuka famiye Utoto, Cheche Utoto, Kristo Utoto, Mupenzi Utoto. Turibuka famiye Mahinga, Munezero Muhire, Nyabyinshi Muhire. Turibuka famiye Mukwire, Uzia Mukwiye, Dando Mukwiye, Lucy Mukwiye, Daniel Mukwiye. Turibuka famiye Gaturuturu, Zera Gaturuturu, Tantine Gaturuturu. Turibuka famiye Mugabe Yohana, Nyabahiga Mugabe, Nyabirori Mugabe, Iye Mugabe, Bea Mugabe. Turibuka famiye Rukunguru, Claude Ndakize Rukunguru, Nyagazura Eme Rukunguru, Muhuza Felix Rukunguru, n'undi witwa Bebe. Turibuka famiye Muyengeza, Nyarukundo Muyengeza, Musore Muyengeza, Rusengo Muyengeza. Turibuka famiye Maniragaba, Ukuru Maniragaba, Ndayisenga Maniragaba, Ange Maniragaba. Turibuka famiye Ntwari, Paulina Ntwari, Jeanne Ntwari. Turibuka famiye Gishoma, Askofu Gishoma, Nkunda Gishoma. Turibuka famiye Bigunge, Bigunge Fabien, Innocent Bigunge, Didier Bigunge. Turibuka famiye Runezerwa, Mukarurwa Runezerwa, Bose Runezerwa, Bijou Runezerwa. Turibuka famiye Muvange Simon, Munezero Muvange, Edward Muvange. Turibuka famiye Maronko Kagigi, Zera Maronko, Nyambo Maronko, Jeanne Maronko, Chance Maronko. Turibuka famiye Seru
Garukira Antoine, Nyabatinga Serugarukira, Nyenteruka Serugarukira. Turibuka famiye Runangana, Manase Runangana, Gatare Runangana, Mukobwa Runangana. Turibuka famiye Gasungunu, Tonia Gasungunu, David Gasungunu. Turibuka famiye Nyange, Agnes Bwana, Emmanuel Nyange, Daniel Nyange.
Turibuka famiye Karara, Nakiza Nezi ya Karara, Ngwabi Karara. Turibuka famiye Ngirabakunzi Rukanirwa, Nyagakobwa Ngirabakunzi, Bebe Ngirabakunzi. Turibuka famiye Gasore Bunana, Mukunde Gasore. Turibuka famiye Munyakuri, Debora Mukobwajana Munyakuri. Turibuka famiye Rugenza Jeannette Murora Isaac. Turibuka famiye Ndagiro Odia Ndagiro. Turibuka famiye Gakanyi Mado Gakanyi. Turibuka famiye Gafita Nyamubyeyi Gafita. Turibuka famiye Zuzi Nyamunezero Zuzi. Turibuka famiye Ruganza Kajeyi Ruganza. Turibuka famiye Muzuri Ndayishimiye Muzuri. Turibuka famiye Rushaga Nyamajana Rushaga. Turibuka famiye Rugabo Nyangore Rugabo. Turibuka famiye Kazingo Bizimana Kazingo. Turibuka famiye Seruhungu Nyamatungo Seruhungu. Turibuka famiye Maria Sifa Maria. Turibuka famiye Ndakanirwa Andre Ndakanirwa. Turibuka famiye Rushemuka Ngombe Rushemuka. Turibuka famiye Nzungu Michael Nzungu. Turibuka famiye Rusekeza Ikwere Rusekeza. Turibuka Nyankonesha. Turibuka famiye Ruhumuriza Nyakirindo Ruhumuriza. Turibuka famiye Nyonyo Afande Nyonyo. Turibuka famiye Semuhoza Chisekedi Rwigema Semuhoza. Turibuka famiye Ndasarara Mugiraneza Ndasarara. Turibuka famiye Rwibagiza Espoir Rwibagiza. Turibuka famiye Michel Zikama Murukweri Michel Zikama. Turibuka famiye Semugazanya Nitanga Semugazanya. Turibuka famiye Sekabumba Rodrigue Niyonkuru Sekabumba. Turibuka n'abandi bari kumwe na bene wacu mu makambi umwihariko w'Abakongomani. Famiye Nyapamba Sadi Nyapamba, Bahati Nyapamba. Famiye Lulinda Abel Paul Lulinda, Delphine Biamonea. Turibuka famiye Batubula Regine Batubula. Turibuka famiye Aochi Leon Aochi. Turibuka famiye Bokeoi Asukulu Bokele. Turibuka famiye Melechi Echa Melechi. Turibuka famiye Walukele Lukele Walukele. Turibuka famiye Mambo Angalisho Mambo. Turibuka famiye Somali Evariste Somali. Turibuka famiye Kiza Jeannette Kiza. Turibuka famiye Isumbelo Isumbelo. Turibuka famiye Ndalo Naramirenge Ndalo. Hariho n'abandi babiri batwitse byashoboka ko bamenya abari bakoze.
Murakoze cyane urubyiruko rwacu. Reka mbasabe mugumaho gato bamaze kudusomera amazina. Ababikurikiye neza ngira ngo mwumvise mukoreramo n'amazina y'abandi bakongomani batari Abanyamulenge. Ariko bishwe kubera ko bari bari kumwe n'abagambiriye kwicwa. Umutangabuhamya wacu batubwiye uburyo ki bari babatandukanyijemo
They told us how they separated them,
ariko hari abashobora kuba bari bataramyemo iryo joro
but there might be some people who
hari
were
n'abandi bari
there,
bahari
the others who were with them.
ariko umubare munini w'abari bagambiriwe kwica bumvise ko ari Abanyamulenge
But the big number of people who were killed are Banyamulenge.
n'ubundi n'abarokotse ni ku bitangaza by'Imana
And the survivors is because of the grace of God.
uretse aho hose n'ahandi aya mazina rero basomye n'ayo mu Gatumba ariko dufite urutonde rurerure rw'ahandi hose hagiye hapfira Abanyamulenge.
The names that they have read are for people who died in Gatumba, but we have a very long list of people who died in different places.
niyenda tuzajya tugenda dufata igihe agace runaka dusome twiyukiranye ayo mateka aranahari abakeneye bazajya bagenda bayabona.
We will find time and read those names that he says there. If you need them, you can.
mbere ko dufata umunota wo kubibuka
Before taking a moment to remember them,
twese duhagaze reka mbanze nsaba abantu bake bakurikira batambuke hano imbere.
let me ask a few people to come forward.
reka nsaba umutangabuhamya wacu wa Gatumba hamwe n'umutware we batambuka imbere.
Let me ask our survivor to come forward with a husband.
nsabe umuyobozi wa mituwalite ya hano Ottawa nawe atambuke hano imbere.
Ask the leader of the mutuality to come forward.
nsaba umuyobozi wacu wa Ineza Canada ari n'umuyobozi wa Gakondo atambuka imbere.
Our leader of Gakondo and Ineza.
nsaba umuyobozi w'abarwanashyaka akaba n'umuyobozi w'umuhana wa Ottawa atambuke.
The leader of Bagranashaka.
hanyuma nsabe na Revera Musore visi perezida wa BOT nawe atambuke hano.
Also ask Reverend Musore and
mu byiciro byabo bafite reka hanyuma nsabe buri muntu wese arebe ko aho yicaye yabashije kubona iyi buji yo gucana urumuri rw'icyizere.
and ask everyone to see if they have found the candles.
utayibonye arebe protocol buri wese imugereho.
If you have not received one, you can ask the protocols.
hanyuma dusabe abantu begereye ku matara batugabanyiriza urumuri gato ariko mbere y'uko batugabanyiriza urumuri reka twese duhaguruke.
Let us stand on our feet.
duhagaze dusabe na protocole buri wese ahari ibyo dukora bindi turimo tubigabanye fata umunota bunamire tubibuke abacu bose twabuze.
Moment to remember our loved ones that we lost.
murakoze cyane. reka dusabe rero abayobozi bacu baducanire urumuri rw'icyizere natwe kuba mama bakuru n'abasaza ko tugacana hano munsi harimo akantu turi bukande kugira ngo urwo rumuri rw'icyizere turucane dutangira iki gikorwa. reka dusabe abayobozi bacu batujya imbere.
Let us ask our leaders to lead us in this moment.
murakoze cyane. reka dusabe abari ku buhanga bw'ibyuma abari ku matara badusubirizeho amatara.
Let us ask them to switch the lights back on.
hanyuma dusabe abafite indirimbo batambuke hano imbere aba bayobozi bacu basubira mu byicaro byabo. murakoze cyane. yego abari ku buhanga bw'ibyuma badushyiriraho iyo ndirimbo.
The technical team can help us.
umuntu uri buze kutuganiriza nawe yitegura.
The one who's going to give us a speech, please be ready.
aho ari buze kutuganiriza ku mateka y'akarengane k'Abanyamulenge
He will tell us about the history
yatangiye kera akaba agikomeje.
that started way back and it's still continuing to now.
reka dusabe abari ku matara tugabanyirize hanyuma mu gihe akibitunganya reka tusabe umuvugo nimba ari hafi aze
Let us ask meanwhile
kugira ngo tureke gukererwa gato mu gihe abari ku byuma bakibinoza neza.
Let us ask the one who's going to give the palm to
ufite umuvugo yatambuka hano.
Today we gather here to remember the events of what happened on the night of August 13, 2004. Historians say it is important to learn and remember the past so that we don't end up repeating it. It is important to remember because it helps us know who we are, how we came here, and where we've come from. It shapes our identity and it helps us honor those who came before us. Remembrance in the context of why we're here today honors the victims and recognizes what they've been through. It brings the community together to have important and meaningful dialogues, to support survivors and their families, and it should be a lesson for us not to forget what happened and hopefully never repeat it. So my brothers and sisters, parents and community leaders, I am honored to stand before you to recite my words and hopefully bring some comfort in lieu of silence. Though the cause that brings us together is not one of joy but of sorrow, we find solace in each other's presence. I know, it's hard. It's hard to face 22 years with no justice, years slipping by and providing no relief for the broken hearts cry. The broken hearts of those who survived August 13, 2004. The empty never agains, and the fight for justice, it's seemingly endless, it's repetitive, it's hollow, and it's hard to understand the depth of the sorrow of those who lost their loved ones on August 13, 2004. It's sad that all of this will not bring back the ones we miss or erase the haunting memories of the haunting memories that persist, that do not heal the heavy scars, that serve as a constant reminder of the flames, the guns, and the machetes, scars burdened by those who lived through August 13, 2004. Don't forget their names. Say their names and say them again. Remember. Let their stories be heard. Let their memories remain. Remember their faces, their smiles, and their dreams. The world was robbed of future doctors, engineers, and the brilliant people they would have been. Say their names and say them again. As long as we remember, their stories will never end. It's unfortunate that our country deserted us. We were met with more despair everywhere we went. We felt the hatred everywhere we turned. And yeah, we've been through a lot. And as time moves on, and days become years, and years become decades, it's easy to be bitter and angry at justice's empty pages. 22 years, 264 months, 8,035 days. No, we have to continue the fight. We're resilient. We can withstand any and all obstacles. We will never end. We do not settle for anything less. We're benevolent. We're rooted in religion, tradition, and moral values. We pray to a God who listens. We fight a battle that's not yet over. Our fight is for ourselves. We fight for our future. We fight for our parents and for our nation, and for those who are no longer with us. But let's not forget the fallen victims of the Gatumba massacre on August 13, 2004. As we mourn them, we shall remember them and we will fight for them. Muhumure bene data, erega ntituzashira turashinga, kuko dufite ishinga ry'inyungu. Naho ishimwe ni iry'Uwiteka. Murakoze.
urakoze cyane Gloria mwana wacu.
Thank you, Gloria.
Reka dusabe utugezaho ikiganiro cy'amateka.
We'll ask the person who has a speech of history
atambuke hano imbere
to come forward.
kugira ngo akomereze aho abandi bari batangiriye ngira ngo twabyumvise byose.
So he can continue where the rest stopped.
Urakoze cyane.
Murakoze.
Thank you.
Mbere yuko tuganira
Before we converse,
tubanze ushime
I will first thank,
kuko ushima n'imvugo y'imbera byose ndagira ngo
because giving thanks is the
ngiye
language
kuvuga
of
ngo n'imvugo
everything.
y'imbera byombi ariko ubanza n'imvugo y'imbera byose.
Giving thanks is the language for everything.
Cyambere turashima Imana yacu
Firstly, we thank God
kuko niyo ikwiye amashimwe y'imbere,
because He is worthy of our thanksgiving,
kuko niyo murinzi wacu,
because He is our protector,
kuko iyo hataba ku bwayo
because if it was not for Him,
umwanzi aba yaratumize bunguri.
the enemy would have swallowed us whole.
Ariko Imana yaradusigarije,
But God has saved us.
kandi nk'uko madamu yabivuze kare,
And as my wife said earlier,
igiti niyo gitema
when a tree is cut down,
ariko ntigitemwe imizi,
but the roots are not taken out,
kiba kigifite ubuzima.
it still has life.
Umwanzi ntiyadutemeye mu mizi,
The enemy did not cut our roots down,
kandi ntakibishoboye.
and is not able to.
Ubu kuko madamu yabivuze burya mwabonaga arira cyane,
And as my wife said, you saw her cry a lot,
ariko arakomeye.
but she's strong.
Kuriya siko ahora.
That is not how she is.
Oya, ntabwo ari kuriya ahora.
She's not always like that.
Umudamu ukomeye.
She's a strong woman.
W'abana batanu dufitanye,
Mother to 5 children,
kandi umubyeyi mwiza,
and she's a good parent,
kandi umudamu mwiza,
and a good wife
kandi wubatse urugo neza.
that has the family well.
Si we wenyine,
She's not the only one.
n'abandi benshi banganaga nawe,
And many others who were like her,
n'abandi bari munsi.
and those who were younger than her.
Burya nishimye cyane mbonye mwanditse uyu muryango hariya Gatumba Refugee Survivors Foundation.
I was very happy when I saw that you put the Gatumba Refugee Survivors Foundation there.
Mushiraho ariya magambo y'inyuma Inc.
And you put the last few sentences.
Muri 2007
In 2007,
abacikacumu turi Burundi bansabye kuyobora uyu muryango.
the survivors in Burundi asked me to lead this family.
Ndababwira abongereza nazavuga ngo you picked the wrong person. Ndababwira ngo mwatoye udakwiye.
I told them you picked the wrong person.
Mpamvu nabivuze,
The reason that I said that,
Gatumba yakomerekeje umutima wanjye.
Gatumba broke my heart.
Nta kindi gihe nigeze nkomereka mu buzima nk'igihe cya Gatumba.
There's not another time in my life that I've been hurt like I was in Gatumba.
Umunsi twagera nsanga mama ntakiriho nzara nakundaga cyane.
The day I got there and found that my mother had passed away, that I loved very much,
Na mukuru wanje nakurikiraga.
and my older brother,
N'abandi bantu b'iwacu benshi narinzi.
and many other people from our home,
Abashumba batureze.
our pastors that raised us.
Noneho uwo munsi ndavuga ngo ubanza iyo ariyo mperuka bavugaga.
And that day I thought that it was the rupture that they talked about.
Wira bagenzi banje ndi uyu si ukwiye kubayobora.
And I told him that I am not the one who's worthy of leading you.
Kuko numvaga nta mutima.
Because I felt that I didn't have the heart to.
Numvaga nta mbaraga.
And I felt that I didn't have the strength.
Numvaga nta bushobozi.
And I didn't have the power.
Ariko barakomeza barahata.
But they continued to. And I heard a voice say that maybe this is the way that you will be healed.
tugeze i New York
And when we got to New York,
twari dufite igitekerezo kuko umuryango twawushizeho turi abagabo bane munsi y'igiti i Bujumbura.
we had a thought, those 4 men that came up with a family in Bujumbura.
tugeze i New York duhura n'abanyamategeko babiri baracyariho ni inshuti zacu.
When we got to New York, we met with 2 lawyers who were still our friends.
Mbiberetse baravuga ngo twe nk'abanyamategeko mufite igitekerezo ariko ntibufite umuryango.
And they told us that as lawyers that we had the thought but we didn't have a family.
Ni ngombwa ko mugira umuryango wemewe mu mategeko.
So it's good to have an organization that is accepted
kugira ngo
by the
mugire
law.
icyitwa platforme
So that you would have a platform
izabafasha kuba mwaburana.
that will help you when it comes to making the case.
Kuko mubizi abanyamategeko bari hano
You know the lawyers were here.
wenda n'abandi batari abanyamategeko basoma zino manza
Maybe those were not lawyers but know about the case.
ivyo bita crime contre l'humanité, crime de génocide, amategeko abigenga cyane statut de Rome.
Those who know about the crimes against
hari
humanity.
icyo bita competence.
There's things that are called competence.
Competence ni ukuvuga ngo ni ubushobozi.
And it means the ability.
Abanyamategeko burya baragoye cyane.
And the lawyers are hard people.
Nashatse kuba umunyamategeko ariko ngongeraho mbona ari abantu bagoye.
I wanted to be a lawyer but I
ndavuga ngo reka mbe mbiretse.
So I stopped.
Ariko avec raison.
But with reason.
Kuko nibo bafite igihugu mu ntoki.
Because they're the ones who have the country in their hands.
Burya mubona ibi bihugu byino turimo.
When you see the countries that we're in,
burya imbaraga zazo ziri mu mategeko.
their power is in the law.
Itegeko ryatse imbaraga.
When you take power away from the law,
usenye bino bihugu.
you have destructed the country.
Noneho rero abafite competence kuko twaribazaga abanyamategeko twatse twarega dute.
So we asked the lawyers, how do we...
bakatubwira ngo abafite competence mu rwego rw'amategeko ni igihugu cy'u Burundi.
And they told us that we would have to go through the country of
kuko
Burundi.
nicyo cyaguyemo abantu.
Because it's the country that people died in.
bo bafite ubushobozi bwo gutanga ikirego mu rukiko mpuzamahanga.
That they were the ones who were able to bring the case to the international court.
abandi bafite ubushobozi ni bande.
Who else had the...
ni igihugu cya Congo.
The country of Congo.
kuko twe nk'abakongomani.
Because us as the Congolese.
Congo irashobora kutuburana ikavuga ngo abantu bacu bavuye mu Burundi bakatuburana.
Fight for us and say that our people died in Burundi.
ariko abo bombi
But in those 2 places,
ugiye kwiga muri politiki
not going into the politics,
nta bushake
they didn't want to.
kubera impamvu ndashaka kujamo.
Because of reasons I won't get into.
izo nzira tubona ziragoye.
And we saw that those ways were hard.
baratubwira ngo abandi bafite ubushake ni akanama ka Loni gashinzwe umutekano, Conseil de sécurité des Nations Unies.
And they said that the only other thing would be going through the United Nations.
The UN Security Council.
The UN Security Council.
abo nabo barashobora kwenterpera urukiko rugatangira investigation.
That they could intervene and get the courts to start an
ariko nabo ni
investigation.
abanyapolitiki.
But they're also politicians.
ubu intambara tubamo
So the war that we're in,
nigeze kubaza
I asked one of them,
ndamubwira ntariko kuko iyo twaje i Washington ingenzi nyinshi twajaga i New York aho dushoboye guhura nkababwira ntariko ni gute mushobora guceceka.
when we were traveling together, I asked them, how are you able to stay silent?
mushobora gufunga amaso.
How are you able to close your eyes?
ni gute mushobora kwicara mukatwumva mwarangiza mukagenda
How are you able to sit down and listen to us and then walk
mbere
away
y'aka gahinda.
before our sorrow?
umugabo umwe yararize arahaguruka aragenda ntitwongeye kubonana kugeza n'ubu.
One man cried and he left and I've never seen him till today.
harimo imbogamizi yitwa politiki.
There is the barrier of politics.
ni justice ariko irimo dose nyinshi ya politiki.
It's justice but there's a lot of politics in it.
abo bose rero
All those,
ntacyo badufashije.
they have not helped us.
nibwo rero abanyamategeko twakoranaga n'ubu bakiri inshuti baravuga ati mushireho umuryango turawandikisha New York, turawandikisha ku rwego federal rw'igihugu cya Amerika, noneho tuza kugira uburenganzira bwo gutanga icyo twita ngo ni communication.
And that is why the lawyers told us that they would help us register the organization.
tubifashijwemo na metere umuvandimwe wacu metere Jean Paul Shaka.
And we were helped by our brethren Jean Paul.
iwe wari ufite ubushobozi bwo kuba yakora izo nyandiko, ntabwo ari umuntu wese wazikora.
Was the one who was able to do
umunyamategeko.
that. It's not everyone who can do it. You have to be a lawyer.
n'abavandimwe bacu batuyoboye muri politike.
There are other brethren who have led us in politics.
Zene politike vice president metere Moise Nyabugabo abo bose twarafatanyije.
And our vice president.
kuko niyo komunike rero
So we came up with
tuyohereza ilahi.
and we sent it.
irahebwa tuhereza accusé de réception.
And they sent us the acceptance.
Procureur wari uyoboye icyo gihe
The person who was leading at that time,
yitwaga Madame Fatou Bensouda.
her name was Madame Fatou Bensouda.
Twahuriye muri conference i Boston muri Amerika muri Massachusetts.
We met in a conference in Boston.
Nyuma y'ikiganiro yampaye iminota hafi nka 20.
And after talking for about 20 minutes,
noneho muha ikibazo nk'uhagarariye abacikacumu.
I told her what the problem was as a
muha iyo nyandiko.
And I gave her the letters.
Maze kumuha iyo nyandiko,
And after giving her the letter,
arambwira ngo iki kesi ya Gatumba turayigira.
she told me that I have these letters.
Kuko abavandimwe nyine batuyoboye muri branche politique bari baratanze ikibazo mbere yaje.
The brethren who lead us in the politics
Barimo
branch had already given
kiza personal yigeze kumuderega ibari barashize mu kirego ubwo kitari cyemewe nk'ikirego
even though it was not legal.
Tubonanye arambwira ati ntimugahagarike.
And when we saw each other, she told us not to stop.
Nyuma twigiye inama yo gutanga ikirego mu Burundi.
So we then decided to give that case in Burundi.
Fondation Gatumba ifatanyije na mutualité yacu y'Ubujumbura.
The foundation of
Maître Moïse yigeze gukora voyage ajayo.
Maître Moïse as well.
Baduhana nimero y'urubanza.
They gave us the case number.
Agatorwa asabara mu konvoka.
And they convicted Agatorwa.
Ariko nyuma biza kuzima.
But it all came to an end.
Kubera iki bigenda bizima kubera za mbaraga politiki tuba dufite.
And the reason it ends because we don't have the political power.
Nyuma bametre uhari abavandimwe bahari bari gukora ubunyine inosa.
And in the end, our brethren who are currently working like this.
Bafatanyije n'undi munyamategeko uri Paris nabo bakomeje kugira effort.
With other lawyers in Paris have also continued to work toward it.
Icyo mvuga ibyo bintu ni iki?
The reason I'm saying these things,
nubwo isi itatwumva,
even if the world does not hear us,
ariko ndashima Imana yuko twebwe tucumva ibibazo byacu.
But I thank God that we still understand our problems.
Igihe twaje i Washington muri Departement d'Etat tukaja Maison Blanche rimwe na rimwe bakatwaka ikindi gihe bakanga, twari tuzi ko dushoboye kugerayo ibibazo byakemuka.
We went to Washington and to the White House. We thought that we could out there the problems would come to an end. And we still
Kandi
go there.
simvuze ngo tureke.
And I'm not saying that we're to
Ariko
stop.
message mfite uyu munsi
The message that I have today,
niyo kubwira Abanyamulenge bene wacu
tell the Banyamulenge
mukomere
to stay strong.
kandi iyi nzira ntitugatezuke.
And we should not get out of this road.
Burya nta muntu uhumekera undi,
Nobody can breathe for another.
nta muntu ubereyeho undi.
And nobody can live for another.
N'ukunda cyane ntiwamuberaho,
And even a person that you love very much, you cannot
ukunda
live
cyane
for.
ntiwamutiza umwuka wawe.
And even a person you love very much, you cannot
Ishingiro
share your
rya
breath
mbere
with them.
ry'umuntu kubaho niwe wenyine d'abord.
The principles of a person living is that you live by yourself.
Message yindi ya kabiri
And the second message,
kuri communauté yacu y'Abanyamulenge,
in our Banyamulenge community,
tubabare.
we need to be in pain.
Jewe nari nararinze madame ngasa n'umwubakiye uruzitiro kugira ngo ntakaze hano,
I had protected my wife from coming here
kuko numvaga ngomba kumuprotesha.
because I felt that I need to protect her.
Umva imwe mu nshingano mfite kumurinda no kumurinda gutoneka.
I felt that one of my responsibilities was to protect her.
Ariko yatangiye kuza hano vuba,
But when she started coming here,
usanga narakoze amakosa.
I found that I had made a mistake.
Kuko aho yatangiriye kubivuga habayeho gukira cyane.
Because as she started to speak about it, she
Bibiliya
started to heal.
iratwemerera mu Batesalonike ngo mubabare.
Even the Bible in Thessalonians allows us
Ngo
to be
mubabare.
hurt. They say it says to be hurt.
Ariko
But
ntimubabare nk'abadafite ibyiringiro.
don't be hurt as though you're hopeless.
Ahandi hakavuga ngo umwuka utuyobora ngo si umwuka w'ubwoba,
And another verse says that we're not led by the spirit of fear,
ngo ahubwo twebwe
but rather
umwuka utuyobora
the spirit that leads us
ni umwuka w'urukundo,
is the spirit of love,
ni umwuka w'imbaraga,
the spirit of power,
ngo ni umwuka of sound mind, of a sound mind. Ni umwuka ese sound mind ninde wafasha ikinyarwanda cyumvikana? Nta bantu bazasoma biri hano. Umwuka udukura mu bata wenda mu yindi kindi kinyarwanda.
spirit of sound mind.
Burya naje gusanga imbaraga z'umuntu si ibigango.
I found that that the power of a person
imbaraga z'umuntu ni umwuka
is a spirit that is in them.
umwuka uri mu gituza cye
The spirit that's in their chest.
uwo mwuka mesaje kandi yaje ya kabiri
And that spirit, my second message,
tugomba kuwurinda
we need to protect that spirit.
sinari nzi ko zakira igikomere cya Gatumba
I didn't know that I would ever heal the wound.
ariko imana ishimwe ko nagikize
But I thank God that I got healed.
kandi si ukubivuga kubera ko ni imbere yanyu
It's not to say just because
ariko naragikize
but I was healed.
dore uko nagikize
This is how I got healed.
nagikijijwe n'igitabo cy'ijambo ry'Imana
I was healed by the word of God.
jewe ni umuntu utinda muri bibiliya
I'm a person who spends time in the Bible.
icyo experience nahawe mu kwitindamo
The experience that I got from spending time in the Bible.
nasanze iyo utindanye na bibiliya
I found that when you spend time with the Bible,
burya hariho kuja gusenga
there's going to this gathering,
hariho no kumva babwiriza
and there's hearing the preaching,
ariko hariho no kwakira ijambo ry'Imana
but there's also receiving the word of
kandi
God.
ukaryakira mu bugingo
You receive it in your spirit.
ukaryakira you receive it in your soul
You receive it in your soul.
and you receive it in your spirit ukaryakira and you receive it in your mind ukaryakira ndabisobanura mama kandi you speak great English uyu mwana aravuga icyongereza cyiza jewe nk'umwarimu nzamenya abanyeshuri beza kandi ukomeza noneho iyi experience nagize
The experience that I had,
kandi sinari umusomyi wayo
and I was not a reader,
nari umuntu utera
I was a person who gathered,
kandi ni umunyedini
and I was also a religious person.
ariko nza kudevelopa icyo bita intimate relationship n'iki gitabo
But I came to develop an intimate relationship with this book.
experience nakuyemo
The experience that I got from it,
iyo ugihaye amaso
when you put your eyes on it,
ukagiha n'umwanya w'ituze
give it your time, a peaceful time.
aya magambo yanditse muri iki gitabo
The words that are written in this book
agira imbaraga zongorera umutima wawe
have power to whisper into your
agira
heart.
imirase y'umuriro ija mu bugingo
Flames of fire that
agira imirase y'imbaraga z'umuriro zija mu bwonko
arrows of fire that go into your mind,
agira imbaraga zikiza
and it has power to heal.
ibidashobora kugira mu mutima w'umuntu
That anything that would not be a part of your
ibyo
heart,
amatwi adashobora atariyumva
what ears have never heard,
ijambo ry'Imana rizabigeza
that the word of God brings.
nkagira ngo nkomeze bene wacu
And I want to comfort our people.
isi iragenda iduhenda
The world is not on our side.
hari icyo bita iwacu muri New York bita icyo bita to be progressive
In New York, there's something called being progressive.
to be progressive to be progressive means to be fashionable ni umuntu ugezweho ni umuntu uri mu bigezweho
To be progressive or fashionable is
izi si turimo ziraduhenda yuko iby'Imana bitakigezweho
this world that we're in likes to tell us that God's
kubera yuko babitaye umugongo
but because we've turned our
ariko
backs.
je nzamvuga ngo ntidushobora kuzasakisidinga muri bino bihugu
But I say that we can't succeed in these countries.
ntituzoshobora kuzakira n'ibikomere
We cannot heal these wounds.
ntituzoshobora kuzagera no muri destiny yacu
We cannot reach our destiny
turekuye imbaraga zatugejeje aho
if
twageze
we let go of the power that
burya
brought us to where we
imbaraga
are.
z'umunyamurenge ni ijambo ry'Imana
The power of a Banyamulenge person is the word of God.
ndagira ngo muri ibi bihe twibuka
Now, in these times where we're remembering,
tugatakaza imbaraga zacu
let's not lose our power.
hari abantu bashobora gutekereza ngo twarekuriza imbaraga ngo tugafata imbaraga za bino bihugu
We might think that we can let go of this power and capture the power of these countries.
ibi bihugu ntabwo bikorera ku mbabazi nta mbabazi zibaho
But these countries do not work on mercy.
ndababwira nyuma ya experience y'imyaka hafi 20 ndi muri izi ntambara
And I'm telling you with experience
nasobanukiwe
of years.
ibi bihugu ntibikorera ku mbabazi
And I've understood that these countries do not operate on mercy.
ibi bihugu bikorera ku nyungu gusa
They operate on profit only.
inyungu gusa
Only profit.
urashobora kurekura imbaraga zawe
Might let go of your power
ugasanga wizeye imbaraga udafite
and find that you have belief in power that you don't have.
izi nizo mbaraga zacu
This is our power.
ikindi
Another thing,
abanyamurenge
the Banyamulenge,
babwiye ko bavuga mu mateka make
I've been told to speak about them on a short history.
ariko hari abayandusha
But there's those who know it more than I do.
abanyamurenge ni bande?
Who are the Banyamulenge?
Abanyamulenge ni abakongomani
The Banyamulenge people are Congolese
bakomoka mu bwoko bw'abatutsi.
that are Tutsi.
Bivugwa yuko ku basoma amateka
For those who read history,
bagaragaye muri kariya gace kitwa Eastern Congo, Congo y'Iburasirazuba
it is said that they were found in
mu
Eastern
kinyejana cya 16.
in 16,000. In the 16th
Hari ukuntu bagenda babushanya ariko hari abemeza ko icyo kinyejana abanyamulenge bari bahageze.
The history might change, but they say that they were there by the 17th century.
Bavuye mu bihugu bitandukanye by'akarere.
Coming from different countries and different
Kandi aba si bo bonyine bamuvingaga.
and they're not the only ones who moved.
Kuko icyo gihe Africans were moving from hill to hill.
Because at that time, Abanyafrika bavaga mu misozi baja
Yes.
mu yindi.
They were moving from hill to hill,
Bavaga mu misozi baja mu
moving
yindi.
from village to village. Bavaga mu muhanda baja mu wundi.
They came from village to village
Bava mu bwami baja mu wundi.
and from kingdom to kingdom.
Ibi ni Abanyafurika bose.
Those were all Africans.
Mbere y'uko Afurika igaburwa,
And before Africa was
abantu
divided,
baragendagendaga.
people just moved around.
Yumva hariya hakurya ariho hashimishije nkagenda.
I felt that I liked the other
Undi nawe
space.
yumva hariya hamushimishije akagenda.
Felt that the other space made you happy to go there.
Hari n'abashakashatsi bemeza yuko Abanyamulenge bageze muri Kivu mbere y'abandi benshi batuye muri Kivu.
There's researchers that say that the Banyamulenge
Ukuye abatwa abandi bose bagiye bagira aho bava.
other than the Twa, other people, everybody else had a place they came from.
Ikindi cyatangaje,
Another thing that surprised me,
Abanyamulenge bababaranye n'abandi bakongomani ku kiboko cy'ababereshi.
the Banyamulenge were hurt with other Congolese people on the
Muri 1999 ndi mu Minembwe aho mvuka,
in 99 when I was in Minembwe where I was
naganiraga n'umusaza mukuru.
I was talking to an elder
Arambwira ngo bageze mu Bidegu,
and he told me that when they got to Bidego
ageze mu Bidegu ngo yahuye na bene wabo b'Abanyamulenge bikoreye umuzungu.
that they came across other Banyamulenge people who were carrying
Ngo
a white
umuzungu
man.
atekereza ko yamubwira ngo n'abahindukire yikorere.
And he thought that he would tell him to turn around
Ariko
and
uwo
carry
musaza
himself.
arambwira ati nari nkaze.
But that elder told him that he
Ati
was,
arebye amaso yanjye.
when he looked into my eyes,
Atarambwira ati genda nawe urakaze nkanje sinakujana.
he said, "Oh, you're as strong as me, I can't take you."
Ni ukuvuga yuko ikiboko cy'Ababiligi
So it's to say that when the Belge had Congo,
icyo bita tortures,
what we call torture,
icyo bita oppressive colonial regime,
and the oppression from the Belge,
icyo bita the skirmishes of colonialism, icyo bita agahinda Ababiligi bateje Abakongomani.
the stories that the Belgian people brought to Congo.
Burya ntawavuga ko yakarushije abasaza bacu b'Abanyamulenge
Nobody
n'abakecuru.
can say that they suffered more than our elders.
Ikindi bakoze,
And another thing they did,
iriya misozi y'iwacu kuba haza aho tuvuka, jewe mvuka mu Minembwe,
at the hills of our home, those who know it, I was born in
abandi
Congo,
bavuka handi hirya,
and others were born other places.
zari inyamaswa.
There was animals,
Abasaza bacu nibo bahatewe.
and our elders are the ones who cleared it.
Na bene wacu b'abaturanyi bavuga ukuri barabyemeza,
Even our neighbors
usibye abafite izindi mpamvu.
also accept that we
Ikindi
did.
gikomeye,
Another thing that they did that was pretty.
Murere yari hafi gufata Kongo muri mu myaka ya za 1966, 1967, ayo ni amateka tutari turabaho.
In 66 and 674,
Abayitsinze n'abagiriye, biva mu Gifaransa guerrier, fighters, abagiriye b'Abanyamulenge.
the fighters of Banyamulenge are the ones who were.
Nibo barokoye igihugu cya Kongo, icyo gihe cyari Zaire.
In that time it was called Zaire.
Ariko ikigutangaza,
But what will surprise you,
icyo gihugu ni
that country,
icyo gihugu bubatse,
that same country that they built,
icyo gihugu batemye.
that country that they cleared,
Reka nkubwire amabi cyabakoreye,
I will tell you what it did to them.
cyarabihakanye.
It refused them. It
That
denied them.
same country,
Ico gihugu,
that same nation
ico gihugu,
that they bled for,
bapfiriye.
that same nation
Ico gihugu,
they devised, turned against them. That same nation that they birthed treated them as foreigners in their own homeland.
ico gihugu babyaye cabagize nk'aho batari iwabo in their own home.
That That's a big paradox. That's an unfortunate situation. Cya gihugu nyine babyaye,
The country
cya
that they
gihugu
birthed,
baremye,
the country that they created,
cya gihugu cyabo cyonyine nta kindi,
their own country,
cyarabahindukiriye,
it turned on them
kirabihaka.
and denied them.
Ni nk'umwana
It's like a child
umaze kuvuka,
that has been born,
amaze gukura,
and after they've grown
kagira imbaraga,
and they're strong
kaba igihangana,
and they've become big
agatera umubyeyi,
and they fight their
atera
parents
umubyeyi umugongo cyangwa akamutera igipasu.
and they turn their back on their parents.
Iki gihugu cyo cyakoze
What this country has done
muri 1998
in 98
na mbere yaho, reka mvuge mbere yaho,
and even prior to that,
igihe cya Murere,
in the times of
jewe
Mulenge,
nkunze gukurikirana amateka cyane nyahawe n'abasaza.
I followed the history through the elders.
Burya iyo mpuye n'umusaza w'iwacu
When I come across an elder
sinza
from home,
murekure,
I don't let go of them.
ndamwumva nkanandika.
I listen to them and I write it
Amwe mu
down.
mateka bambwiye,
Some of the history that I've been told,
hari abasaza bafashe
that some elders
muri
took,
biriya bihe bya Murere bacana umuriro,
in that time of the day, the elders lit a fire
barabatara kubatara. They burned them alive on fire, on burning fire, wood fire.
and they burnt them alive on the fire.
Hari ikindi kandi hari abandi bafashe ngo babazika ari bazima.
And there's those who were also tied up while they were alive.
That same nation they fought for,
Icyo gihugu barwaniye,
that same nation they helped to form and create and build and save.
icyo gihugu bakoze baragikorera.
Nibyo cyabakoreye.
That's what it did to them.
Ikindi bakoze 98,
Another thing they did in 98,
naganiriye n'abavandimwe bari za Lubumbashi na za Kinshasa,
I spoke to brethren from Lubumbashi and
bafataga imodoka bagafata pine bagashiraho umuntu muzima,
they would take tires and put people while they were alive on them,
imodoka bakayitwara.
and then they would drive the car.
Hari ubwo nibajije ndavuga ngo se umuntu ukora ibi bintu agira nikagira mu nda ye, agira ibuye, agira uyu mutima w'inyama,
I wondered,
uyu mutima iyo tuwuvanyemo woroshye,
I wondered what,
bisobanura ngo koroha kwawo ni ukugirira imbabazi.
I wondered the people who do
Naribajije ndavuga ngo ariko umuntu ushira undi kuri pine,
and I thought a person who ties another person to
imodoka
a tire,
akayitwara
and then they drive the car,
cyangwa akamutwikira kuri pine,
or they burn them on the tire,
tying them alive around tires of moving vehicles.
bazirikane bazima ku mapine y'imodoka.
Naribajije wese agira ibuye mu nda ye,
I wondered if they have stones in their stomach,
cyangwa agira umutima w'umuntu.
or do they have the human heart?
Sinabimenye,
And I haven't found an answer.
sinabimenye.
I haven't found an answer.
Ikindi bakoze,
Another thing they did,
bafataga bamwe bagata mu ruzi bakarasa.
they would take some of them and throw them in the river and then shoot them.
Bafataga umuntu bakamubaga nk'ababaga inyamaswa mbi.
They would take people and slaughter them.
Iwacu muri New York, muri Amerika sinzi hano ko bimeze, n'inyamaswa hari amategeko yo kuyica. Burya uko twicaga inka ntibyemewe.
In New York, we have
Hari
laws.
uburyo bugomba kuyica neza itababaye.
We have laws of how to slaughter animals,
Ariko aho bababarira inka,
but where they have mercy for a cow,
bakababarira n'imbwa,
mercy
inyamaswa
for dogs and other
z'inyamurenge
animals,
ntiyagiriwe imbabazi.
but the Banyamulenge people do not
Ntiyagiriwe imbabazi
have mercy,
n'igihugu cyabo zayo.
and their own nation does not show mercy to them.
Birababaje cyane.
It is painful.
Abandi kandi barariwe, umuntu bakamufata bakamubaga bakamurya.
And others were eaten,
Burned, brutally slaughtered and subjected to acts of cannibalism. Jewe ntabwo ndi mukuru cyane kandi sina mutoya.
I'm not too old and I'm not young.
Bwa mbere numva wenda ariko n'ubushobozi abaye n'abantu numva ko umuntu aribwa numvise umunyamurenge.
The first time I heard of somebody
Noneho ngira amatsiko yo kubaza ngo ese hari ahandi abantu barimba barabaga ngo zabayeho.
and I
Ariko nje
wanted
kubimenya uzumva bwa mbere.
but the first time I heard it,
N'umunyamurenge numvise
it
aribwa.
was a Banyamulenge that I heard.
Abadamu bafashwe ku ngufu
Women were raped,
bakorerwa ibyamfura mbi. Tugeze mu Gatumba,
and when we got to Gatumba,
abanyine bagiye bacika kuri ayo mabi yose
The same people who were survivors,
icumu ryarabakurikiye ribinjiza mu nkambi ya Gatumba.
they were followed by these atrocities all the way to Gatumba.
Bageze mu Gatumba madame yabivuzeho
When they got to Gatumba, my wife talked about it.
hari inkambi y'abarundi bari batahutse,
There was a campsite for the Burundians,
hari inkambi y'abandi bakongomani bene wacu batari abanyamurenge,
another campsite for other Congolese people that were
noneho
not
hakaba
Banyamulenge,
n'uruhande rw'abanyamurenge.
in the Banyamulenge side.
Kugeza n'ubu jewe sinari mpari,
And to this day, I was
nabaza ngo ariko ibyo bintu zakorewe iki?
I asked how, why
N'ubu
did
ntabwo
they do it?
turansubiza.
And nobody has answered.
Iryo vangura
That discrimination.
naryo abanyamategeko bazarikoraho investigation bamenye iryo vangura ryo ni niki.
The lawyers will investigate and
Reka
find
tube
out what this
tubirekera
discrimination was about.
abantu
What did they
baraterwa
do? The people were
ijoro
in the night,
bicwa ruriya rupfu mwabonye,
and they were killed the death that you heard.
aho umuntu bamumenaho esanse
The point where they poured gasoline on a person and they burned them.
umubyeyi ukikiye umwana ntababarirwe.
A woman carrying a child not forgiven.
jewe nahageze hafi saa munani bukeye,
I got there around 2 p.m.
ugasanga umuntu arashya kakurya kw'igiti cyari igiti ari igiti kibisi kigashya ariko ntigishire.
And you find the people burning like
ni ubwa mbere nari mbonye ibyo bintu mu buzima bwanje,
fresh trees where they were burning but not completely burning off.
ariko kugeza na munsi uyu
But to this day,
amahanga yatanze amadeklarasiyo.
the nations have given
ibihugu
declarations.
bikomeye nka za Amerika n'iki turimo, umuryango mpuzamahanga, Nations Unies, Européenne, bamagana basaba ko ubutabera bubaho.
Nations like the United States and the United Nations have,
ariko kugeza n'ubu nta butabera buraho.
but there has not been any justice yet.
Let me switch a little bit gears
Ndahindura bukeya,
and speak in English a little bit.
mvuge mu Cyongereza.
So I'm not a lawyer,
Ntabwo ndi umunyamategeko,
but just using my common sense,
ariko ndi gukoresha ubwenge bwanje.
I can boldly state
Ndashobora kuvuga ndashidikanya
that these facts
ko aya magambo
constitute compelling evidence,
yerekana
ibimenyetso bidasubirwaho,
ibimenyetso bidasubirwaho
that the Gatumba genocide
ko jenoside yakorewe mu Gatumba
was intentionally mu mugambi and intentionally targeted against the Banyamulenge. Ni ukuvuga ngo reka nsobanure mu rundi rurimi.
It's to say that
Ntabwo ni umunyamategeko. Turabona undi musobanuzi karibu cyane. So as I was saying,
uko nabivuga
just using common sense.
ukoresheje gusa ubumenyi cyangwa
Maybe lawyers and experts may disagree with me,
uko abanyamategeko bashobora kubivuga,
but I can boldly state
ushobora kubivuga rwose nshikamye
that when you gather all of the facts,
hakurikijwe ibimenyetso,
when you do some study around the Gatumba case,
abantu bagerageje gutekereza ibyabereye,
and when you collect evidence,
ibimenyetso bibashije kuba byose,
and every information is available,
kandi amakuru arahari,
people are just not willing to do it.
abantu ntabwo babishaka.
But if people could make some effort
bisaba gusa abantu ko bashaka
to invest some time to investigate this case,
kugira ngo dushake gusa umwanya hanyuma abantu batekereze kuri
it was an act of genocide
bisobanura bigaragara neza umugambi mubisha
that solely and intentionally
byari bigambiwe
targeted
abantu bamwe gusa ari ugenderewe
the Banyamulenge.
ari ku bwoko bw'abanyamulenge.
And when we make these statements,
mu gihe tuvuga aya magambo,
our goal is not to deepen divisions among Congolese people.
ntabwo tuba tugendereye kubiba urwango hagati y'amoko y'abakongomani
cyangwa amacakubiri.
No,
that's not our goal.
ntabwo ari cyo tugendereye.
I always make an argument
igihe cyinshi kunze kuvuga aya
that
magambo
saving for this justice,
kugira ngo ndebe ko ubutabera bushobora kuzabaho,
cyangwa se gutanga buno butabera,
if I can, this justice can be done,
ntabwo ari uguha abanyamurenge ubutabera.
not necessarily to give
ubu si ubutabera bw'abanyamurenge,
no, this is not a justice to
ubu ni ubutabera bw'igihugu cya Congo.
This is a justice to the Congo as a
kuko uzagambirira kurema igihugu cya Congo no kugisana adashize imbaraga muri ubu butabera,
whoever planned to build a country as Congo without necessarily put the justice in front.
uwavuga ngo ararengera Kongo
Whoever can save Congo
akuyemo kurengera umunyamurenge
without giving the justice to the Banyamulenge,
nawe ni umwanzi wa Kongo.
that is his an enemy of the.
Nta kuntu ushobora kuvuga ngo urafasha Kongo
You can't say you want Congo
udakemuye ikibazo cy'abanyamurenge n'abatutsi bo muri Nord
without protect the Tutsi and
kuko urashobora kuzimya umuriro wa none
you can quit fighting today,
uwejo ukabaho.
but tomorrow will strip them.
Sinshaka gutinda,
I won't take much time.
ndashaka kugira ngo ngire amagambo saba.
I need to make this statement or to make this request.
Kandi mbere yo kuvuga aya magambo nkarangiza,
Before I say what I want to say and conclude my statement,
ndashatse kugira ngo nyahuze no gushimira abantu bawe.
I want us to tie together to
abantu bawe Ottawa ndabashimiye,
Ottawa to
abantu ba Montreal, Canada yose ndabashimiye.
in Montreal or in
Perezida
Canada.
Zigama ndagushimiye cyane,
The chairman is Gama.
kandi turabashimiye ko mwadutumiye.
Thank you for the invite.
Umuvandimwe perezida wacu kolege Kazinguvu,
The chairman of Ineza Kazinguvu.
turabashimiye perezida
Thank you
ku butumire bwanyu,
for the invite.
n'abaturage bose muri kino gihugu
All of you in general
kuba mwarateguye uyu munsi,
to make the
turabashimiye cyane.
with you.
Noneho kagira ngo saba aya magambo,
I need to make this request.
tugomba kwibuka,
We need to commemorate as we
tugomba
live.
guhora twibuka,
We need to do this every time.
ariko kandi tugomba kuba creative,
Ariko ni ngombwa ko tugira ibindi bisha tugenda tuzanamo.
tugomba kureba ukuntu tuzaza umusaruro igihe cyacu muri bino bihugu.
We need to our time to be fruitful in this country.
Yeah, we need to really capitalize or take leverage our time here in Canada and the US.
Ni ngombwa ko ibihe byacu tubihesha agaciro bikagira
My
umusaruro.
first recommendations to you as our leaders.
Ubwo busabe bwanje bwa mbere hano.
Let's ask the government of Canada.
Reka ngira tuzagira igihe dusaba leta ya Canada ko
So as some of us are Canadians,
kubera ko bamwe muri twamaze kubona ubwenegihugu.
we work in the military, some of us I heard.
Maze kumva ko hari
You know,
ndetse bakorera bari mu nzego.
Some of us may be working as firefighters.
Abandi bashobora gukora.
Some of us may be working in law enforcement.
Abandi bashobora kuba.
Some of us are working as caregivers.
Abandi bashobora kuba bari mu.
We pay taxes.
Kwishura amatax muri
We have the right
dufite uburenganzira
to ask the government of Canada
bwo gusaba leta ya Canada
to apply their power of influence
kugira ngo bashore cyangwa bumvikanisha imbaraga zabo
over the government of Burundi
hejuru y'igihugu cy'u Burundi
and the government of DRC
n'igihugu cya Congo
to make sure
kugira ngo
they serve for this justice.
babashe kwemera ko
And also to make sure
kandi kugira ngo
they protect innocent Banyamulenge
abantu b'inzirakarengane
who
cyangwa
are still being persecuted.
kugira ngo bareke guma kwicwa.
So number 2,
icya kabiri
I would make another recommendation saying
ikindi cyifuzo cyanjye cya kabiri ni iki.
I did some research around this area.
nagumye gukora ubushakashatsi muri ibi bice.
This area is so rich.
Iki gice kirakize cyane.
It's so rich in terms of resources that we can tap into.
Dufite ubukire abantu bashobora gukoresha.
Ubushakashatsi nakoraga nibazaga nkavuga ngo ese Ottawa, Canada yose ese hari abadufasha kuzamura kino kibazo. Usanga hano mufite ubutunzi bwinshi.
As I was doing the research and trying to
nahasanze tugomba kuzamura kino kibazo tukakigeza mu bindi bigo.
I came to realize we can voice this injustice until the other level.
We should bring this case before some influential organizations, platforms, and some of them are University of Ottawa Human Rights Research and Education Center.
Hariho ibigo dushobora kwegera nka University ya Ottawa n'ibindi bigo bishobora kuza kudufasha mu kuba.
Nasanze bafite mu ishami ryadufasha.
I found they have a brand which we can approach and can help us.
aba twabashakaho partnership.
Dushobora gushaka ubufatanye nabo.
University of Ottawa Observatory Human Rights at the UN, when International Commission of Jurists, International Rule of Law and Initiative, Institute for Research of Genocide Canada, Canadian Institute for Conflict Resolution, n'ibindi. Noneho icyo twakora rero ntiturangira aha ngo dutahe gusa, ngo turangirize aha dutahe.
Not just to come and commemorate the dead of
Twibaze ngo ese nyuma yaha
we need to ask ourselves what
twakora.
What comes after this.
Ni ukuvuga ngo iyi kesi tugomba kuyigeza ahashoboka hose.
As possible we can advance this.
Ikindi twatekerereza hamwe,
what else can we think together?
cyanyuma
The last one
ni ukureba ukuntu twunganira our legal counsel, ubuvugizi bwacu mu mategeko burahari. Tugomba kwiga uburyo twabwunganira.
We can try to see how we can aid or try to put effort together to aid the legal counsel.
Ibi wenda tuzabiganira nyuma.
We can talk this after.
Ariko ni byiza ko twibuka.
But it's necessary and good.
Ariko tunibaza ngo ese hejuru yo kwibuka twakongeraho iki.
But after this we need to think and get this question what comes after.
Kananize nongera kubashimira.
Let me end this as I conclude to
umwanya mwaduhaye.
for your time.
May God bless you.
Mane mujuru umugisha.
May God bless the memory
Mane umugisha
of our people.
tuwe twibuka abene wacu.
Thank you.
Murakoze.
Arakoze cyane umutumirwa wacu.
I thank our guest.
Atubwiye amateka.
He talked about our history.
Ariko ntabwo yarekeye aho, aduhaye n'umukoro abanyakanada.
He also gave us a homework as Canadians.
Hacu rero kugira ngo duhaguruke.
It's up to us to stand up
Izo rekomandasiyo yaduhaye nituzishyira mu ngiro.
and do what he recommended.
Imyaka iri imbere wenda ntabwo tuzicara tuvuga ko ubutabera butaratangwa.
In the future we'll sit and say that the justice was served.
Turimo turagana ku musozo.
We are about to conclude.
Reka dusabe umuyobozi wacu w'ineza.
Let us ask the chairman of Ineza,
Perezida Kazigugu Ruboneka
the chairman Akazigugu,
atambuke.
to come.
Hanyuma tunasaba Pastor Patrick Nshobero kuba yitegura kuza kudu mu isengesho ridusoreza.
And also ask Pastor Patrick to get ready to pray for the closing prayer.
Arakoze umuyobozi wa gahunda.
Thank the moderator.
Arakoze cyane umuyobozi wa gahunda nk'uko umaze kubivuga. Mu izina y'Ineza Canada uhagarariye, agira ngo banze bihanganishe mwese abari aha, ndetse no mu izina rya gakondo y'ihuriro rya mutuwalite z'abanyamurenge hirya no hino ku isi. Nanone nagira ngo bihanganishe abanyamurenge hirya no hino ku isi ku bibazo tumaze igihe duhura nabyo, kuko mwabyumvise mu mateka ntabwo ubwicanyi butangiye uyu munsi. Dufite abantu benshi bamwe bari aha ngaha bazi amateka ndetse babaye no muri ibyo bihe, kuko benshi mubizi. Hari abantu barokoke za Gatongo nk'uko benshi mubizi tumva. Hari abantu bamwe bashobora kuba bari aha ngaha barokokeye ahantu abitwa bakaraha bishwe bakambwe ari isima ni henshi zagahwera muri za 60 na kangahe. Impamvu bivuze gutyo nashatse kubivuga mu buryo bwo kugaragaza ko ubwicanyi dufite kuri none ibyo turimo kuvuga atari ubwicanyi maze tekereze muri iyo myaka yose tutiriwe tuvuga ahantu hatandukanye. 1996 muzi ko hari umuryango abana barenga 300 cyangwa se abantu barenga 300 bishwe. Nyuma yaho ngo 98 za Kamena murabizi, za Kalemi n'ahandi hatandukanye, za Kinshasa 2004 tubizi ibyabaye mu Gatumba. Izo zose impamvu tubivuga ni uburyo bwo kuvuga ko tugomba kugira ijwi hamwe n'umugabo wacu Olivier Mandela yabivuze. Ukuvuga ngo birasaba imbaraga zacu. Yanabivuze n'usubiza kuri icyo kintu muri gakondo dushyirahamwe rya za mutualité z'abanyamurenge hirya no ku isi no kufatanye na Gatumba. Icyo gitekerezo kirahari cyo gukomeza gushyiramo imbaraga kugira ngo tubashe kurwana n'izi mbaraga zirimo zikoreshwa kuri none turimo. Murabizi kera basogokuru cyangwa se ba data se n'abandi bagiye bicwa hakoreshejwe imishari, imbunda zoroheje. Kuri none harimo hakoreshwa drone, intwaro zitigeze zibaho. Bivuze ko umwanzi atigeze ava ku izima, akomeje kongera imbaraga z'uburyo bwo kuturimba kurusha. Bivuze ko hagomba gukoreshwa imbaraga nyinshi, tugomba gushyira imbaraga hamwe kugira ngo tubashe kurwana n'izo mbaraga z'umuzikora. Izo zose tubivuga tugomba gushyira hamwe, gukorera hamwe kugira ngo tubashe kwamagana ijwi ryacu rigeza kugura nuko ijwi ryacu riri hamwe, gukorera hamwe, gukora iyi gahunda y'ingiyi turimo none ahangaha hano Ottawa n'ahandi ku isi babikoze uyu munsi n'abandi bazabikoresha n'ejo bundi na nyuma yaho. Ubwo ni ubuvugizi twunamura imvugo, kandi nitugenda cyangwa se dukoresha izo mbaraga umwanzi agakomeza gukora ibyo agomba gukora. Nkaba rero nshimira buri muntu wese wageze aha ngaha, nshimira by'umwihariko umwana wa papa. Murabizi uyu munsi wa kane ntabwo ari wikendi, ni amasaha menshi y'akazi, kuba mwabonetse mungana gutya birashimishije cyane kandi rwose biradushimishije. Impamvu tubivuga gutya, ibirimo biba aha ngaha bikoded cyangwa se biragaragara none, ariko n'ikindi gihe bizagaragara. Iyo bigaragaye ko abantu bari aha ngaha baje gushyira ijwi hamwe kugira ngo babashe kwamagana, babashe gusaba ubutabera, igihe niyo mpamvu dushima rero ubwitabire bwanyu. Rero turabashimiye cyane, tukaba dushimira bagenzi banje kuko yagiye abivuga umuyobozi wa hano, sinirwa bivuga ngo wavuye hano, mwagize neza cyane. Abayobozi batandukanye aho mwagiye muva n'abandi batandukanye aho mwagiye muva, benshi sinirwa mvuga ngo uyu n'uyu n'uyu. Ibyo twakoze ni kwikorera, turimo twishakira kandi twavuze nta bandi babishaka bikwiye. Niyo mpamvu tubashima, tutagize uwo tuvuga turamwibagiwe, cyane cyane ni ibidufitiye akamaro. Izo mbaraga rero ni izacu, tugomba kuzishyira hamwe. Icyo cyose tugomba gukora kandi tugomba kuzikora. Ndabashimiye cyane mwese ubuzima buze bavuye hirya no hino, mwagize neza cyane. Dushimira intumwa ya ambasaderi w'u Rwanda waje kwifatanya natwe mwakoze cyane mubabwire ko twabishimiye cyane. Ni benshi twari twatumiye ariko nibo babashije kuboneka twareka kubishima. Kugira ngo nshimire nanone umutumirwa wacu cyangwa se umushyitsi wacu ndetse n'umutangabuhamya bavuye hakurya, mwagize neza cyane. Twaduherukanye kera tuvugana twumva hari gahunda nyinshi kandi zisa naho ariko yarakoze ndetse gushikira n'umuvandimwe Olivier Zikaza bafatikaje kugira ngo abashe kuba. Rero twari kubashimira rwose mwagize neza cyane. N'abandi batangabuhamya mwese mwagize neza kwihangana kuko biriya bibazo byabaye ubuzima mwabayeho mwahuye nabwo bikomeye cyane. Kwihangana mukabasha gutanga ubuhamya bikomeye cyane. Rero banabivuze, iyo ubasha kuvuga, iyo ubasha bikurimo icyo gihe biragufasha nawe kandi rwose tugomba tukavuga, tugomba guceceka kuko iyo tuvuga tuba turimo twirafite, tuba turimo kwamagana ijwi ryacu, turimo dukomeza kurangurura kugira ngo tubashe kubona ubutabera. Kugira ngo benshi murabizi, reka ngavugeho gatoya, hari ikintu muri Kongo bafite cyitwa ngo ni Genocide. Iyi Genocide barimo ihari bavuga nta nubwo bavuga aho Banyamulenge yahuye. Ndabona niba mwarabyumvise, sinzi niba mwageze mu bavuga byabaye koko cyangwa ngo bavuge ibyabaye za Kamemi cyangwa se agenda bavuga cyangwa se utundi turere dutandukanye. Niyo mpamvu rero tugomba rero kwirwanaho kuko bana babwiye bavuga tugomba kwirwanaho, ubutabera bwacu tukabwishakamo cyangwa se n'uburenganzira bwacu twebwe bwacu tukabikorera. Rero kwihangana, yagize neza umushiki wacu yavuze ngo nawe n'ibibazo bimeze gutya nuko nari umwana muto w'imyaka 16 ariko kuri none mfite abana. Umwanzi burya kugira ngo umushoboke cyangwa se ubashe kumutsinda ni uko akubona urimo gukora improvement, gutera imbere. Burya umwanzi wawe yabasha kubona ibyo yakoze bitatumye urabona amateka usubira inyuma, icyo gihe nibwo buryo bwo guhora mu bundi buryo bworoshye kuko cyagiye aravuga kandi utakoze wenda nk'ibyo yakoze. Kuko nimba tutahuye n'ibibazo bitandukanye twese ni muri rusange, tugende ngo duheranwe n'agahinda, icyo nicyo gikwiye nk'Abanyamulenge, nk'Abatutsi ndetse n'inshuti zacu. Tugomba gukora ibishoboka byose kugira ngo duhindure amateka kandi dutere imbere, tureke guheranwa n'amateka kugira ngo tubashe kurwanya ibibazo byinshi bigenda byiyongera. Nkaba nsaba ko ibyo byose nubwo bimeze gutya dukomeze dukore, twibuke twiyubaka kujya babivuga, twibuke twiyubaka. Iryo jambo niba mubyumva baravuga ngo twiyubaka, tugomba gukora tugatera imbere mu buryo bwose bushoboka. Rero nta kindi navuga, mwese ni ugukomeza kwihangana, dukomeze dukore. Akaba rero nshimiye mwese ababashije kuboneka mukihangana guhera amasaha ya saa 9 kugeza kuri uyu mwanya. Mwagize neza, rero ni ibyacu, dukomerezaho. Murakoze cyane.
Umuyobozi wacu arakoze ku ijambo ryiza no gushimira abantu, kandi koko abantu bahutaba nabo gushimirwa cyane, bahagarariwe na perezida wabo Zigama. Kugira ngo kuba bizi twebwe ntabwo ari uyu munsi hari uko twari mu neza byasaga naho uri bubera ahandi, ariko ku mpamvu zindi biza gutuma tubona ko ngombwa bibera hano, tubimubwira mu minota yanyu. Perezida Zigama warakoze cyane kuko nyuma yo kubyumva yarabaganirije abaturage ba Ottawa murabyumva murabikorera mwabyitabye mwahaye agaciro abantu banyu nta muntu n'umwe wavuga ko afite igikorwa kikitabirwa n'abagabo n'abagore bangana gutya ngo nurangiza umuntu areke kugitekerezaho no kwibaza koko ko iki kintu gifite intuzi. Uwo ni umusanzu ukomeye ku bwoko, ni umusanzu ukomeye ku bacikacumu bo mu Gatumba n'abahandi, ni ukubakomeza. Ngira ngo nabivuze ko gakondo yatubwiye ibyo twitwararika no kwirinda amagambo mabi yo kubakomeretsa. Ibyo twari tubizi ku bandi ariko ubu natwe byatangiye kutugeraho. Turabashimiye cyane, turashimira abayobozi b'imihana itandukanye bahagurutse, bamwe batangiye kugenda ejo bafite flight zigenda ziconnectinga n'ahandi, bamaze iminsi umwe ibiri mu nzira kugira ngo baze tubane n'abanyawutaho. Ejo bamwe bazasubirayo kugira ngo iki gikorwa twakoze hano nabo bajye kugikora mu mihana yabo. Rero reka tubashimire kuko ubwo mu bwitange bukomeye. Ndashimira abandi bantu narindi muri komisiyo yateguraga ibi bintu, team yari iyobowe ni Kapara, bakoze neza cyane, bakoraga inama amasaha akuze, rimwe na rimwe bikageza amasaha ya nijoro, bimwe biboneka ibindi bihinduka ku masare, ku bintu murabizi gutegura ibintu bya hano, amasaha y'akazi n'ibindi. Abo bantu rero iyo tubona ibintu byagenze gutya, hari abantu baba baritanze bakabikora, bakabikoresha umwanya wabo. Turashimira abamama ba Ottawa cyane cyane, hano harimo mama Presidente Nyihasha, mama Penina na mama Solange. Bagenda bagaragara mu bintu byinshi cyane bakadufasha, kandi buri ikintu abadamu bahagurukiyemo twebwe abagabo biza bigora ko tutakijamo. Niyo mpamvu ibi bintu iyo turimo tukabona abadamu babihagurutsemo, tuba tuzi ko hari bizagira. Nimuhaguruke rero mudufashe no gushaka n'ubwo butabera, mubibwira abana banyu, mubibwira abagabo banyu, bizakunda. Dushimire n'abashumba b'amatorero atandukanye. Aba bashumba hari ukuntu bagenda bamwe, iki kintu iyo abantu bakigenzemo nabi birapfa. Abashumba mufite inshingano zikomeye zo kugira ngo mukomeze gufasha aba bantu, kandi no gukomeza kugira ngo gukangurira abantu ngo tubumwe, tureke gucikamo ibice, tureke gufata amateka ngo tuyagoreke. Mugende mwegere intama zanyu. Ni Abanyamulenge bari muri za mituwarite, ariko aho muzoza mubana batangiye kugorama, muzakoreshe cya cyubahiro Imana yabahaye n'ubwo butwari mufite bwo mu ijambo ry'Imana, mubasengere kandi munabagaruze neza. Ni mwebwe twizeye, kandi iyo dufite abashumba bicaye bangana gutya, ngira ngo wenda ntibyari ngombwa ko mbivuga, ariko twibuka Edmonton bigashaka kutugora, umuntu yaratubwiye ngo mugende mumbwirire, munyandikire urwandiko. Twari turimo nijoro, bamwe bari hano twari turi kumwe, mumbwire ngo turakwizeza ko ibi bintu tugiye gukora nibi hazaba harimo abamama n'abashumba. Abo bantu rero bafite icyo bavuze muri kominite y'abantu bose. Iyo rero tubona intebe z'imbere zicayemo abashumba, tutari mu materaniro cyangwa tutari mu kindi kintu, turi mu gikorwa nk'iki cy'ubwoko cya community, birabereye kandi bituma n'abandi babakurikira. Rero mwabashumba mwe nimukomeza kubidutwaramo neza, uru rugamba duhanganye ntabwo tuzarutsinda, ariko abatezuka bakagenda batwara n'abandi barasenga. Turabashimiye cyane, ndabashimiye cyane ku kwituze mwagaragaje. Twatangiye neza, dusoje neza, amasaha nubwo hari aho yadusize ariko twagerageje kuyafata. Reka dusabe umushumba wacu kugira ngo adusengere, adusoreza turagiza Imana, abantu turangize abasuhuzanya kugira ngo tubone umwanya wo gutanga sare babone uko babikoramo. Murakoze cyane, Imana ibamugije.
Reka dusenge. Tutarasenga rekomandasiyo ntoya, turashimira abasore basomye amazina, ariko ubutaha bazosome ba repesi cyangwa bazotora abantu bazi gusoma, hari uko bazabasoma rwose amazina gasa n'aho atariyo. Reka rero tuve hasi kugira ngo dusenge, tunibuke iwacu. Murakoze. Reka dufatikanye. Uwiteka Mana yacu, ni wowe Data, ni wowe Mana. Umwanditsi aravuga ngo ikidutera gushima ngo nuko umwanzi atavugiriza impundu kunesha.
asande ko umwanzi yagerageje inzira ze ariko bikaza kurangira dukomeje kubaho uturinze ukaturindana n'abangana bake. Ico bari baragambiriye nicagezweho cyose kubera ko wabaye mu ruhande rwacu. Ijambo ryawe riratubwira ngo ese iyo uri mu ruhande rwacu umwanzi wacu ninde? Asande kuri mu ruhande rwacu wagiye ugaragara ku manywa na nijoro, mu ntambara z'urudaca, mu mvura nyinshi, mu bihe biremereye, mu bihe biruhije imitima, mu bihe umuntu wese atabasha gusobanurira undi, wagiye ugaragara. Waretse wa Mana we umwijima ushiraho umuco urava n'uyu munsi dufite amashimwe. Turakwereka igihugu cyacu. Muvuga ubutumwa yatwibukije aratubwira ngo imurenge ibyishimo byacu. Asande ko waduhaye aho twitirirwa, asande ko waduhaye aho tuba, asande ko waduhaye gakondo. Uyu munsi wa none turakwibutsa igihugu waduhaye kugira ngo ukomeze gutanga amahoro, kandi aho umunyamurenge wese ari n'inshuti yiwe ushoboye wa Mana we gukomeza kuhatanga amahoro. Warakoze kuduheza aho dusembera, ariko kandi ni igihe cyo gusubirayo, ni igihe cyo kubaka iwacu. Turifuza gutanga izo mbaraga, utanga ubwo buryo, utanga ibyo yerekwa, utanga ubwo bushobozi, wowe uza uhindura ibihe, wowe data uza utugenera iminsi, tugenera ibindi bihe byiza byo kuba kandi muri kiriya gihugu turi benshi. Turagushimiye ubwo tugiye kuja gusubirayo, wakoze kubashoboye kugera hano hose, abaje bavuye kure n'abaturutse hafi, abafashe indege, abafashe amamodoka n'abagenze n'ibirenge. Ubwo tugiye kuja gusubirayo, turasaba umugisha wawe kubana na buri wese, ariko cyane cyane imitima ikomeza kukumva no kugutekereza mu misi yacu. Ni ku bw'izina rya Kristo dusaba, tukaba tunizeye. Amen. Umugisha w'Imana ubane nawe mwese.